Hello everyone. Just playing some quick auto duels, don't worry about that. How's everyone doing? Welcome back to another Tomato Sauce stream. Today we have some quite exciting things going on as we did get some new leaks, which is always a really exciting time. Especially because of the content of these leaks being Cyber Dragons. I mean, who doesn't love Cyber Dragons? Obviously a fan favorite since they pretty much came out in GX. I think Zane was almost everyone's favorite GX character, and it's just been an archetype that has always kind of stood the test of time, even when it hasn't been super competitive, like in the physical game. People still play it as a pet deck, right? No matter if you go on Master Duel, you'll still see hundreds of people jamming a Cyber Dragon deck. So when it came over to Rush, people were a little bit worried, I guess, right? Because I mean, Cyber Dragon ended an era and started a new era effectively in the TCG. When Cyber Dragon came out in Cybernetic Revolution, that ended GOAT format, which some people still claim is like the best format of all time. So it's just a really like huge groundbreaking card, right? It's so impactful to the TCG. It's so impactful because of its use in the anime. It's just such an important card. And obviously when it came to Rush, obviously it's nostalgia bait, as well as the fact that, you know, people in general still really like the way the card works, they like the way the card looks, and they like the anime adaptation. So when it came out in Rush, at first, I think the impact, the general consensus was, okay, 2100 on a 1 tribute monster that can get out a little bit cheaper is fine. There's not like anything inherently overpowered about that. Like Rush is already at the point where like 2100, I mean 2100 was never really a great stat, let's be perfectly honest. But it's like, it's fine. But the main difference is going to be whether or not we get the Cyber Dragon cards with fusions, or if they're coming out before fusions. Now, all we can do is look at what's happened previously and then try and come to conclusions based on that information. But again, we are kind of in uncharted territory for the most part, so anything that anyone thinks they know is always, you know, it could just be wrong, right? Konami can do whatever the heck they want. But let's have a look and talk to people in the chat. Who do we have? We have Void. Welcome on in. We have another Void. Ahmed Voider. Welcome. Apparently there's a discussion about pizza going on. So, you know, there's that. There's Dwan. Hello, Dwan. Welcome on in. What are we doing in today's stream? So today we're going to go over the leaks. We're going to go over predictions of what we think the leaks could be hinting at. We're going to take a look at the tier list. And if we do play some Rush today, it's going to be playing some Dark Magician, because that's something we still haven't toyed around with. Limit 1 on the old Thousand Knives is a bit... I still don't think there's going to be anything there, but we're going to try it out, that's for sure. Where Streak, hello. Promanicust, welcome. We have Monosync, hello. Obviously, Monosync is now, I suppose, the primary caster for the Fangirls Playground point battles, which is, the last one was a little bit small. We're hoping that they get a bit bigger in the future, but yeah, fingers crossed. Obviously, Monosync also running the skillless unlimited tournaments over in the Rush Duel Links Discord server. We don't have any specific shout out for Mono on here yet, but we do have this. It should just link to that. What's up, my guy? We have Max. Hello, Max. Welcome. Why are you getting a streak and I'm not? I mean, that's just how that works, Manicus. You know, some people can streak, some people can't. No Cyber Dragon support in Speed Duel version, not yet. But right. So we'll get into this in a little bit, but it would make sense, right, to give us Cyber Dragon stuff in one as you gave it to us in the other, in the same way they did for Red Eyes, the same way they did for Dark Magician. So, and Buster Blader as well, right? We got parallel support. And we are also in the speed section of the leaks. We have seen a bunch of Gaia the Fierce Knight stuff, and I think we could also start to see Gaia stuff come out in Rush as well. I mean, we already have had some of it, but, you know, it would make sense to me to, again, bring them out at the same time, so we'll have to see what actually happens there. 2100 beats, Wilhelm. Tomato, talk shit about the mid skill. Leak my favorite vegetable. I mean, Leek's fine. I don't know if Leek's Leek's nowhere near my favourite vegetable, I'll tell you that right now. I don't know if it's anyone's favourite vegetable. It's a bit boring. Tomato Stream W. Hello, Neo. Welcome on in. Apparently not getting streaks is a bug, and of course I get the bug. Classic psychic bricking. I mean, that's... Psychic aren't allowed nice things. That's just how it works. That's just literally how it goes. The speed leaks are huge. Well, we'll be going over those as well. Am getting cards for when I unlock Yuto. Nice. Street Gang from Zaki Boys. Guess we will do some guessing. I mean, guessing's the best part of leaks, right? I mean, taking a look at what's there, that's base level stuff, right? Like in the iceberg, that's like surface level. Like starting to go on these wild theories about what it could possibly mean for the future of the game and future product releases. That's the exciting shit. That's when we're going down and down and deeper and deeper. Cyber Dragon having some amount of free stuff would be so sick. If it is a structure deck, one structure would be amazing. Yeah, Konami have been a bit hit and miss with this, where sometimes the structures will come out and they'll just give everyone a free copy, and then they'll be like, now you can buy one for gems, and then you have to buy one with money. And sometimes they've been really stingy. I think it was the Ridercross one. They were like, no, you can buy one with gems, 0 for free, and you have to buy 2 with money. And it's like the worst structure deck ever made. And it's like, why have you done this to us, Konami? This just feels really scummy. Like, I get it, they have to make money somehow, but like, attach it to a product worth buying at the very least. And if it's going to be something like power crept, you know, just make it so you only have to buy one all the time anyway. I don't know, it seems weird. It just seems very weird. I'm building Sky Striker, and I see it getting more support soon. Yeah, Sky Striker has also been performing a lot better. I think it did just get bumped up on the tier list as well, which is obviously very exciting, right? I think Sky Striker players in general have started like flocking back to the deck, which I think is a good thing. Like, Sky Striker can be a little bit annoying to play against because it is basically a control deck, but you need control, right? Like, you need the 3 pillars of card games to exist, otherwise everything just kind of falls apart. Tomato, I have a question. They changed the card type names to the fusions, like Fairy Warrior to something else. Does this not work with generic Fairy Warrior support now? So Fairy Warrior was never a thing. It has always been... Oh, what was that one called? Celestial Warrior. The whole point is, they were never supposed to be... You know, it's the same way Beast Warrior isn't a beast and a warrior. It's its own thing, right? Cards that work on just beasts don't work on beast warriors. So in the same way, Celestial Warriors don't get... You can't use, like, warrior cards on them, right? I still think it's a missed opportunity if they didn't make Cyber Dragon a maximum in Rush. Yo, they haven't done it yet. That's not to say they won't release one eventually. But they have really tried to stick to this as a fusion archetype, and it came out in the fusion era, as well as the fact they're trying to allow the deck to exist as it did. So in the same way we're now getting Ancient Gears, that's like the next set that's going to come out soon in Rush Duel, the physical game, obviously, not Duel Links. They're trying to keep those, again, kind of grounded and not go too crazy with them. Let's get more Tenyi support. Hello, ZZ. Welcome on in. Yeah, but Sky Striker is getting a more boost to more monsters like Rose, or Rose, whichever one we're going to go with that, which will make the deck more aggressive. I'm also betting we'll get a link to Sky Striker Ace. I'm trying to think. Because I played Sky Strikers in Limited. I never played them, like, at full power. I'm trying to think what the link to is. I just don't remember ever summoning it. So if Omega Psychic comes out as is, will it work with Psychic cards that list Psychic as a requirement? No. No, it will not. Omega Psychic is not Psychic. It is different. In the same way, again, like Beast Warriors aren't Warriors, etc., etc. They are a completely different card, which is why... For a lot of cards in the Dragon type, they will specifically write on them, you can only use this effect if your graveyard only contains Dragon and High Dragon type monsters. Because Dragons in Rush are the most xenophobic type. They have the most cards that say, like, no, if you're playing this, you're playing this in Pure Dragons. Zeke. Okay. Anyway, let's take a look. Oh, we've already got this open. That's convenient. So, over on DLM. I assume there's going to be like nothing new. Yeah, it looks like nothing new. But if we're going to take a look at the leaks, I suppose we'll start with the speed stuff, because the speed stuff, I mean, we don't have a ton of input for the speed stuff. Like, we're, again, primarily rush. In terms of like modern speed, we've played like one deck and then like a bunch in limited. And limited is not like practical, right? Hyped to see your opinion on the leaks. Well, again, we were talking about the Gaia stuff, and here is the Gaia stuff. Now, again, I think this is relevant because there is a bunch of Rush Gaia stuff that also could come out. Now, the issue is a lot of that stuff cannot come out. Some of that Gaia stuff is meta right now in the physical game, so a lot of that stuff just straight up can't come out. But we could see some of the Gaia stuff come out with the release of fusions, which would be, you know, pretty cool. Now, the stuff that could probably come out is going to be like Gaia the Dragon Champion. This card could come out when fusions release. That's completely fine. Swift Gaia the Dragon Champion. This could probably also come out. This is not anything too crazy, right? Any warrior monster with 2000 defense, there aren't that many anyway, so that's not too big of a like freebie. It just means you can use it. You can make it using any of the different Gaias, which is quite nice because it means you can use Swift Gaia. And then we can send top card back to the graveyard, attacks defense position monster, inflict piercing. And then if you have no cards in your hand, you can draw a card. Now that draw a card is the only thing on this which I think might push it a little bit over the edge. But considering you have to basically -2 to get this out, I think that's fine. As well as the fact that, you know, in order to fuse in Rush, typically, we would have to tribute our monsters out. So you'd have to normal summon, tribute out your Cursed Dragon, normal summon, tribute out your Gaia the Fierce Knight, and then use your fusion spell card, which means you can't even do that with a 5-card hand. So, like, replenishing one of those cards is not the end of the world if we're restricted in that way. But there are, and again, like, Catapult Turtle gets some support cards as well in the same way that it does in Speed. So there are some Rush cards that could come out alongside them. I haven't played a ton with the newer Gaia stuff. I did play with them a little bit, but like we say, we didn't play with a ton with them, so I don't really have that much of an opinion on these cards. Maybe the next structure, although I don't know. I mean, maybe. Tomato, where's the best deck Dino Gaze? What do you mean? Where is it? Like, it's not in the leaks. I can tell you that much. I see. Also, welcome in Draco. Oh, I see some Dogmatica cards. Yes, so I believe Ecclesia was leaked in our last set of leaks we got, and it's just here again. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was correct. In fact, what we could do is just go to 19, right? And then, oh, because it's not August. Okay, so if we change August as well. Right, we're going to try and finagle this to, what, July? Let's try. We're gonna just see if we can't. No, it looks like we're not gonna manage that, and I can't be asked to go looking for it. But I'm pretty sure that was, because I'm pretty sure Dogmatica Punishment was also in the last leaks as well. So who knows? Who even knows? Then we got some weird cards in here, right? We got some Evil Zors and Lars, which I guess is neat. I'm not sure why they're here, but you know they are. Gaia is also the first ever fusion in the anime. Hello, Laser Shark. Welcome on in. That is true. It's definitely the first monster that is fusioned into. Because the anime does some like weird stuff, right? Where like Flame Swordsman is a fusion monster, but it's not. Right, Joey just kind of normal summons it. Like Guilty of the Dark Knight as well, and there's a couple of others. I'm pretty sure, even including them, I'm pretty sure Gaia the Dragon Champion is still the first fusion. Again, I don't know what a lot of these cards do. None of them are particularly stand out, except Pharaonic Guardian Sphinx. This thing is a bit of a nightmare in Sealed, or in Limited, I should say. Because if you're very limited in card pools, this card is a little bit annoying, right? Which is so funny. Because it's just a retrain of Guardian Sphinx, which if anyone, you know, played way back in the day, they'll know what this is. Sky Striker Rose, Wind Witch, and hopefully Lyralisk for me. Well, Lyralisk is almost certainly coming, right? Because we have the skill. Obviously, Sky Striker Rose is here. And then Wind Witch is down here, which is pretty cool. I'm pretty sure Shui's going to be happy with them, since he is the Wind Witch guy. Like I said, I don't know a ton of these. I like the Reptilian cards, but again, we had a bunch of reptile stuff like leaked last time as well. Got some Revendred, Slower Swallow, Scissor Cross. This one was Okay, this isn't one I thought it was. I was thinking, because there's a Sky Striker Scar that lets you, like, attack twice, or lets you, like, have the battle phase again or something. I remember that one being really, really strong. Imagine we get, like, 2 characters next month, considering this month was a skip month for a character unlock. I have seen people saying that. I think it was Brad was saying that on Twitter, that he was like, there, you know, there's a chance we get a double character this week, this month or next month. And it's a weird one, right? Because we're going to have to see what happens. Again, we're in kind of uncharted territory. Like, usually we would just know we're getting the next world. But because Go Rush hasn't finished yet, and it still seems a bit early, you know, it's up in the air whether or not we're actually getting Go Rush. And then it's like, well, we've run out of non-Rush worlds, so we'd have to get some, like a meme world. We'd have to get some sort of meme world. Whether or not it's a cool meme world or a bad meme world, it would be a non-canon world, right, of some description. So Cyber Dragon is coming again. Hello, Drags. And yes, we are getting a Cyber Dragon skill, which basically confirms Cyber Dragon are coming, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Because it's not like we're getting Go Rush since the anime hasn't finished, so I guess Rush Fusion will also lend extra deck slot. Yeah, chances are we will probably get an extra deck slot. I'm curious to see if they're going to make the extra deck slot both speed and rush or not, you know? As in, like, will rush come out with the same number of extra deck slots that speed currently has? And then if, you know, speed gets the +1, will rush also get that +1? Or will they get more, or will they get less? Or, you know, it's all a bit up for debate. But then, this bloody mouse wheel, right? We have the Lulu/Ruri skills, which is interesting. So this is going to be our Lyrilusc skills. I haven't, like, looked through these, but I think it's just by looking at them, I have a feeling that one of the two, like 3 or 4, are going to be the good ones, right? We'll also get rid of chat for now, so we can actually see what's going on. My manifestation for the new world is Chronicle World with customizable characters. I mean, I think that's what a lot of people want. And to me, that is a red flag that Konami won't do it. Because it would be really cool and it would make everyone happy. And that means Konami is, like, super adverse to doing anything that the community will actually enjoy. Hopefully, they add the Evil Yuya variant from Arc V to Duel Links. So, you would just add Zark at that point, right? So you just have Zark as a character. Which I think is fine. You could do that. You'd have all of the, like, Supreme King versions. Whatever they're called. Is it called Supreme King? I can't remember what his, like, the evil versions of all the bosses are called. Zdark is still too early. We need Yuri first. I mean, you're not wrong. Yuri's never coming out though, Max. We have to accept this. Yuri is in prison, and Konami will never release him. He's in, like, break glass in case of emergency, because they know so many people want him. I mean, the first version of Go Rush is fully dubbed, so we could get Go Rush. The first season is, but, like, right, it's one of those things, Manicist, where no matter what anyone says, right, no matter anyone that claims they have all of the secret source, they've data mined it, they've done everything, we don't actually know what's coming. We could just get Go Rush World. No one can say that we're not getting it. No one can say we're 100% getting it. We don't know. What we do have is the August Core update, which doesn't have anything about Go Rush in it. So that implies we're not getting it, but it doesn't confirm it. It doesn't guarantee it, right? They could just be holding out, and then they'll do that one big dump in a month's time, and then bam, look, it's Go Rush World. But I don't think it would make sense to. Now, again, Konami do weird stuff all the time, so they could just do it anyway. But that's my opinion on it. I think it makes more sense just to give us fusions, right? And have them be the big deal. Ideally, get, like, a Chronicle World. I think that would be cool. And then, hell with it, give us a couple of extra characters as well. Yuri's the same prison as Speed's Sidra. Yeah, Sidra is not allowed to be good. They let Sidra be good once, and people abused it. And then they were like, no, you couldn't have your toys and play with them sensibly, so we're going to put them in this drawer, and we're going to lock it. And that's just it. Ruri and Rin are coming at the same time, and so will Yuri. Wait, so you think 3 characters are going to drop at the same time? That's where we're going with this? I want Yuri and Zark, but Yuri more. We just gotta be patient about it. For all we know, because Worlds is coming later, we could get a new world just later than we think, so we might not see Worlds leaks until next month. Yes. It's like we say, everything happening right now is unprecedented. Everything happening now, people are trying to use what has happened in the past to dictate what's going to happen in the future. And the fact of the matter is that we are in uncharted territory, right? Now, we very much still could just get a new world. It could just be Go Rush. That seems the obvious, safest thing based on prior experience. But we also just could not, right? No, I mean, like, if they make Ruri and Rin same month unlock, then yeah, Yuri will be the last one we're getting, it seems. We don't have Tag Duel next month. I haven't, like, looked too much into the events that we're getting in the future at the moment, but it's not like they do back-to-back releases for the same world when it comes to character releases. It's a weird one, though, right? Like, why do Lulu and Ruri as one character? So are we implying that they could be like Paradox Brothers or like Loomis and Umbra sort of thing? Because I mean, again, I can't say they're not going to, but it just seems weird. Like, I don't know. It's a weird one. I feel like you could just release one or t'other. You don't need to have them both as this, like... I'm trying to even remember who these characters are, to be perfectly honest. One of them was, like, the sister, who is not... One was, like, the sister, and one was, like, the... I'm really struggling. Because, like, in my mind, these are, like, the same character. So, like... It's possible it's weird. That would be weird. If we're not getting a new world, then perhaps 2 character unlocks for 1 month seems better. Plus, counting the Rush Fusion campaign celebration with the new stuff. Yeah, I almost think just having no new world at all is, like, the worst option. Because people already have their hopes up to get something. And getting nothing is just going to be like, oh. Like... It's like Master Duel recently did, they did their announcement, and they were like, oh, the Shadow Duelist is going to come. And then everyone started speculating, what could this mean? Is this going to be something really cool? Is this going to be a new mode? Are we going to get to do something yada, 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 yada? People's imagination started running wild. And then it's like, guess which celebrity is behind the mask? And I guarantee all the competitive players just went, why did you get my hopes up for literally nothing? Like, this is less than nothing. This is just... I don't know. It's just a bit weird. I think Go Rush is too early, but at the same time, if they give us fusions, most of them are from Go Rush era. Now, yes, but like there are still plenty of fusions from the 7's era to work with. Like, you don't have to just suddenly give us all the Go Rush ones. So it'd feel out of place. I don't follow that at all. So we had fusions introduced in the 7's anime, and then we still had like the other half of the 7's anime with fusions in it. In which case, you know, there were plenty of boss monsters. Most of the decks got a new boss monster for it. So you could just do those ones. And then the ones that aren't anime related, you could also just bring some of those forward if they're weak enough, like the Gaia ones that we talked about earlier. So like, I think it would be fine. I don't know if it would feel out of place. And then you just release like, you know, the Go Rush fusions later in the same way that they did in the Go Rush show. So in the show, in 7's, basically it was like the regular just game. Then they introduced Maximum, and then they did this big thing with Maximums. And that kind of extended up until we got to Fusions. And then we got the whole Fusion arc, which was all about Yuo, and then that transitioned into being about... God, what was his name? Yuga. The other Yuga. Goha Yuga. And eventually Otis, right? So, like, there's still plenty there to draw from, I feel. Lulu/Ruri is the same character, just one is subname and the other is dub name. Oh, in which case, that's fine then. Because I was going to say, I thought these were the same character. I was like... Thank you for clearing that up, humongous. I guess the next week we will see what the September upcoming updates will be. Not going to be chatting much and grinding Duel Links. I mean, that is completely fine, Boyd. You can just listen to us yap. Cyber Dragons are new. Mirror is too much. We're seeking an increase to skills potential. Or we're seeing an increase to skills potential. There's no reason for them to give us the older fusions, but give us some Go Rush fusions, because most of the time the newer card/decks will be all that people are obviously not entirely, but for the most part. So counterpoint, Harpies exist in the game, which is a Go Rush era maximum monster that was brought forward and didn't like cripple the meta, right? There was one small period where Harpies was the best deck in the game, but it didn't overwhelm having a modern card in the game because they tailored it very specifically, right? We set it so you can only have one copy of one of them, one copy of another, limit 3 on the other, then we're not going to give you any of the support cards, and you can do the exact same thing. They've done it in the past, they've done it in Speed, and it's just how Duel Links operates, right? But logically, it makes sense that you could bring some of those fusions forward, like, as we were just, like, theorizing, the Gaia ones, right? Like, realistically, bringing Swift Gaia the Dragon Champion out early without all of its broken support is not going to break the game. If we were to bring out Gaia the Battle Ruler, that would break the game. This fusion is bonkers. This fusion is not bonkers. This fusion would be fine, right? Hello, Tomato. Hello, 1401. Welcome. Welcome. That's another thing. We still don't have Goha Yuo info. I mean, we'll get that eventually, right? It doesn't have to come out immediately. Chaos Femtron is also extremely recent too. That is an example of that supports Manicus' argument, I think, though, where Chaos Femtron like made Cyberse a deck, and it arguably does too much for the deck still. You mean Harpies that are missing half their cards? Exactly. But that's exactly my point. You curate the release to make it fit in with the current power level, right? Cyber Dragons are coming with fusions, right? We don't know that for sure yet. So we're expecting some harsh restrictions on Cyber Dragon. I think it is quite possible that we get Cyber Dragons without fusions. I would expect, this is my current theory, right? That Cyber Dragon is going to be released as a structure deck. That structure deck is going to come out before fusions come out, and we're going to get fusionless Cyber Dragons for a bit, to then eventually, when fusions do come out, which will probably be about a month after that, because I would expect this structure deck to come out probably at the beginning of September, and then I would expect fusions to come out at the end of September. That is my current timeline as I foresee it, and that's just basically predicted based on the information I currently have, with a little bit of, you know, speculation. I can't, right? I can make an informed guess as much as I can, but realistically there's going to be guesswork in there no matter what. Hey, yo, hello, Ursus. Welcome, welcome. Very likely. You never know what they will release. Feeling hell illegal because never finished season 2 of Arc V or watched season 3 of Arc V. To be fair, the synchro arc of Arc V drags. It really drags. Now, I'm one of the biggest Arc V defenders, but I personally dropped the show halfway through the synchro era because it was so slow and the story got really boring. But I picked up again after, you know, the synchro had finished, so I could just binge through it, and I got through it, and then it, again, picks right back up after that, in my opinion. For Speed, probably Dogmatica Albaz, since those were leaked, but who knows what else. I mean, fingers crossed. Are you going to check the Lyrilusc and Windwatch skills? I mean, we'll check them in a bit, but we keep getting sidetracked and derailed. And also, we need to skip this song, because that's 40 seconds of nothing at the end of it. We also see more Sky Striker support coming since Rose is there. Also, the Lyrilusc and Windwatch skill means we're getting both Ruri and Rin. Okay. I think Cyber Dragon will be limit 3. That's why the skill searches Proto. So Proto is more versatile, in my opinion, than Cyber Dragon. We'll talk about this a lot more when we actually get to it, but Proto you can use to fix your hand. You can't necessarily fix your hand with Cyber Dragon because you have to have no monsters on the field. If you do have any monsters on the field, Cyber Dragon is just a vanilla level 5 2100 attack, right? So there's that aspect. When we do eventually get fusions, because again, I'm predicting that we're going to get Cyber Dragon before fusions, but again, then that lets you search for a fusion material that you can easily get onto the field without having to worry about it, which is, again, really, really good. Will Cyber Dragon be limit 3? It could quite easily be. Does it need to be? I don't think so. I think the only... Like, realistically, I don't think you would play Cyber Dragon with Mirror Innovator, just in the Mirror Innovator deck. Now, I could be wrong, but I think having more access to those level 7s that can also trigger the skill is going to be more useful more of the time than occasionally getting to cheat one body out that's a 2100. Like, it's basically... Cyber Dragon's, like, fine in Rush. I don't want to, like, say it's crap or anything, but I think people do overestimate its impact quite a lot. After hearing about Zark, I'm going to probably start watching it again. Zark is fine. I don't know if I really like the Zark duels as much personally, but, you know, Zark's fine. As for Rush, I don't know how you guys manage to cog. I'm stuck at gold 5, getting sacked in the 3rd/4th game, always. It's just, primarily, it's perseverance, right? Is your deck just good enough to, like, get there? And if you're good enough to get to gold 5, it's good enough to cog. And then it's, you know, are you lucky enough to play against people that are good or just bad? Because a lot of the time when you're in gold 5, you're just playing against people that just do not know what they're doing at all. And then it's just, you know, hang on until you get a lucky streak, basically. Like, it is free, but it's more like you're rewarded for perseverance and patience more than you're rewarded for, like, skill in Rush. At least in terms of getting cog, in my opinion. Tried like 20 times. Yeah, unfortunately, that's just how it goes sometimes. Now, I'm just thinking, if they do give us Fusion, it would be either Twin or End. So I'm thinking limiting Cyber in advance stops it being used with Mirror or Dragius for loads of Pierce or double attack when they do come. Okay, we have just hit an ad break as well, so we'll let the ad break fall away before we answer the question. In which case, we'll have another chance to reread it. I'm thinking if they do give us Fusion, it'll either be Twin or End. I mean, that makes sense. Realistically, I think they should give us Rush. And I think that would probably make more sense, but that wouldn't have the same nostalgia bait. Being used in Mirror or Dragius or loads of Pierce or double attack when they do come. Yeah, it's a weird one. From that point of view, I think that does make sense. I think without the fusions running around, I don't think it matters. But funnily enough, in the physical game, Mirror Innovator is like a tech that you put in your Cyber Dragon deck rather than putting a Cyber Dragon engine into your Mirror Innovator deck. It's so funny how that kind of like flips around. It's just like having a bit of piercing so you don't always have to rely on Cyber Twin to get damage in through set 3 pass can be so good. And Cyber End doesn't actually see a ton of play. Like, people will still run it, but it doesn't get summoned that often in the physical game. Usually it's Twin, because, you know, 2800 that attacks twice is almost always better than 4000 that pierces. But saying that, we are going to be in a 6000 life point meta, which does mean that 4000 pierce could be a lot better. So we'll have to see. The decks I use are good, but it's just a sack problem. I mean, in that case, it's literally just got to just keep going. Right? What else can you do? So let's take a look at these skills. Let's take a quick, cheeky look at these skills. So this skill can only be used once per turn. You can only special summon Winged Beast monsters. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Dark or Wind Xyz monsters. If there is a card on your opponent's field or graveyard, reveal a rank 8 or lower Winged Beast monster in extra deck. The level of each Lyrilless monster in your field becomes the same rank as that monster. So what is this trying to do? Does this let you... Like, are we supposed to use this to... Because it's up to rank 8. So what are the rank 8 Winged Beast monsters that we're trying to get out of this, is my question. Is this meant to be going into, like, some, Raid Raptors? Is that what we're trying to do here? I mean, there's one. And it only needs Winged Beast. It doesn't have to be specifically Raid Raptors, but it does gain a bonus effect if we do use Raid Raptors to make it. It looks like they're all going to be Raid Raptors. So I'm assuming that is the idea behind the skill, is we're going to try and get out Raid Raptors. Level modulation. Skill 4 for Lyrilusc is definitely the best one. Well, so this skill in general seems like okay, right? You can basically change your levels to be whatever you want, so you can get out a rank. You can get out basically any of the Lyrilusc or Raid Raptor Xyz monsters very easily with it. Seems okay. Doesn't seem broken or anything. Like, it fixes everything, but it doesn't... It doesn't, like, play the game for you, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not doing this, like, draw 6, add 20 cards to your extra deck, also impact the game massively. Let's take a look at skill 4. This skill can only be... This skill's second and third effects can be used once per duel. Okay, so this is sounding impactful. You can only normal or special summon level 1 monsters or Lyrilusc monsters. Okay, so this is like hard limiting us into just playing Lyrilusc. Reveal 1 Lyrilusc monster from your hand to set 1 Lyrilusc monster from your deck to send 1 from your deck to the graveyard. Okay, I don't know enough about the Lyriluscs to know what they do from grave, but I'm going to assume quite a lot. If there is a card on your opponent's field, send 1 monster from your field to the graveyard, then set a Lyrilusc monster from your deck to the field. So basically, once per duel, we can dump 1 from deck to the grave by revealing. And then once per duel, as long as there's a card on our opponent's field, so we can't do this on the first turn, we can send 1 monster from our field to the graveyard, so we also have to have a monster out, and then set a Lyrilusc monster, and then we can still change his battle position. Okay. Guess I have to play for fun now. If I get it good, if I don't, oh well, I guess I'm too unlucky for Rush. Unfortunately, Rush does have a large luck aspect. That's just part of the game. Like, Speed has it as well, but nowhere near the same as Rush. Nowhere near. Nowhere near. It's what modern Duel Links skills are. To get out our bodies from deck. You can play hand traps. Nowadays, if skills don't do that, equals trash. I mean, basically, yeah. I mean, just take a look at the Unchained skill, right? That skill does basically nothing. It's basically like, oh, you bricked? Let's see about maybe fixing that. But the deck, you know, still popped off. So it's funny how, like, if the cards are just good enough, the skill doesn't matter as much, right? Taking that Star Seraph skill, for example. Yeah, the Star Seraph skill, like, and then, like, the Defleur skill. I think some people would say, like, the Sharks. I don't know, some people really like the Sharks. Christ, there's a lot of text on these. What is going on with all of this text? Okay, right. Here we go. This, by the way, has 4 different effects. So this skill's 3rd and 4th effects can only be used once per duel. You can only normal or special summon Wind Witch monsters, Spellcaster monsters, and Wind Tuners, except special summons from the extra deck. Right, that's already so specific. Your opponent receives 0 effect damage from your non-Wind Witch cards or effects. So I guess we can't abuse this in burn or something. During a turn, you have normal summoned a level 3 or lower Wind Witch monster. Return all face-up monsters on your field to your deck, at least 1. Then set 2 Wind Witch monsters from your deck with different levels. That sounds really good. Just get to cheat 2 things out from your deck. If there is a Diamond Bell on your field, add a Blizzard Bell from outside of your deck to your hand. Okay, let's check these out. So Diamond Bell is a level 8 Synchro. Target 1 Witch monster in your graveyard, put damage to your opponent with half its attack. You can, when your opponent put that damage account effect, you target 1 to destroy it. That seems like a pretty decent boss monster, I guess. And then Blizzard Bell, if you control no monsters, or all the monsters you control are Wind Witch monsters, you can normal summon this card without tributing. During your opponent's main phase, if you control a Wind Witch monster other than Wind Witch Blizzard Bell, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to inflict 500 damage, which I guess it's a level 5 tuner that doesn't special summon, it's just normal. And if we have Diamond Bell, we can, I guess, trigger it to do the 500 burn and then trigger this guy's effective pop. Seems okay. I'm sure there's like something really broken in there that I just don't understand, but we'll have to wait and see. You could be a pro Rush player playing against Timmy with a structure and lose. I think that's funny. It is quite nice in a way that the game is kind of casual friendly, because some people will play it as free to play and still be able to have an enjoyable experience, whereas if you play Speed free to play, I feel like you have to do a lot more. It's a lot more in to get stuff out, I guess. And when I say free to play as well, I don't necessarily just mean, you know, not spending money. I mean, like, not spending a whole bunch of time on it, like not having to grind everything out. Okay, that Windwitch skill is broken, better than the Lyrilisk one. Right, and then this one as well, which has 5 different effects. This skill's 3rd, 4th, and 5th effects can be used once per duel. So you can only normal set monsters, normal or special summon Windwitch monsters, spellcast monsters, and wind tuners. Is this one has spellcasters on it as well? This bloody mouse wheel. Hate it. Okay, so exactly the same restriction. Your opponent receives 0 effect damage from non-Windwitch card effects, so again, so you don't just playing burn. Shuffle 1 Windwitch Snowbell or 1 Windwitch Chimes from your hand into the deck to add 1 Windwitch monster from your deck to your hand. So we can do this only once. Okay, if you control a face-up Windwitch Synchro monster, you can play a Snowbell from your deck. You can play it from your deck to your field. I guess it has to be face down, because this type of effect always is, but it's just written weird. Return 1 tuner from your graveyard to your deck, then add a Windwitch tuner monster from your deck to your hand. I mean, again, I don't really know enough about Windwitch to, like, say whether or not this is going to be good. It sounds good on paper. I don't know how good the Windwitch cards are, like, overall. We need like, Shui in here. He knows. He's the Windwitch guy. Or is he the Witchcrafter? No, he's the Witchcrafter guy. See, now I'm getting confused. They're both just Witch archetypes. The Windwitch one can make Crystal Wing and then be killed because of the small Windwitches. Yep, if they are that lucky to draw their random one-ofs of Magnum is GG, happen to me more than once. So many effects. Jeez, both skills are good for Windwitch. Custom skills. Jesus. Yeah, I don't know why a skill needs to have 5 different effects. Right? It's very, very over the top. Like, when there is more text in your skill than there is on your cards, and it's Yu-Gi-Oh!, that's a problem, in my opinion. But I suppose if the archetype is just that bad without it, I'd rather it was playable than complete garbage, I guess. Welcome to the modern era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Soon we'll have books for sale. How do we not? Already know how modern skills work, so don't worry. Windwitch basically specials loads from hands to Synchro Climb, and then gives Synchro effects depending on which small witches are used. Okay. Is there anything in here that's remotely interesting? We have Artillery, Catapult Turtle, Polymerization, Dark Magician. This just feels like it feels like that Buster Blader skill, right? Which is it's just nostalgia bait. It's a Gaia / Catapult Turtle / Curse of Dragon skill. This also looks kind of boring. This also looks kind of boring. Hey, we have one of these. That's neat. We have a Time Thief skill, okay. This skill's second effect can be used once per turn. You can only normal or special summon Time Thief monsters. There aren't that many of those, that's quite restrictive, but I suppose with a 20 card deck, maybe that doesn't matter. Reveal a Time Thief startup or a Psychic type Time Thief monster from your hand to add a Time Thief startup or Machine type Time Thief from your deck to your hand. Then if there are no cards in your opponent's field, you can return 1 card from your hand to your deck. Oh, then if there are, no, you must return. So this is just cheat out Redoer a little bit easier. I don't know if that in itself is a deck. Like, Redoer is obviously a really strong card, but like, I think we're kind of past Redoer being like, summon it and just be annoying for a while. I think we're just gonna kill them through it, so Yo Psychic mentioned. The new best Speedroid, considering both are same characters, same strategy, but Windwitch can do burn damage and almost do consistent synchro monsters. So Windwitch will be the next Speedroids, but with extra steps. And burn. Who doesn't love burn? I'm going to be building Lyrilisk, though. I do like Ruri, so can't wait. And that brings us on to Rush Duel. It always comes back to Rush Duel. Alright. Rush Duel skills. I think we could probably take that S off there, to be honest, but you know, it is what it is. Cyber Dragon skill. This skill can only be used if all monsters in your deck are machine types and there are no level 7 monsters in your deck. So, let's have a little cheeky peeky and take a look at all of our machine level 7s that we're not allowed to use. So, the obvious one, Innovator. We don't want to be seeing Innovator getting any more support, and we don't really want Innovator being seen in any more decks, so it makes sense. Gold Rush doesn't really matter. I don't think people would play it anyway. Tough Striker, again, I don't think that matters. Barrel Dragon could actually matter, because with a sudden lack of like really big boss monsters, maybe people would have gone back to Barrel Dragon, but we can't do that. Ace Breaker, once again, we're not allowed to use it. Oh, guys, Basquiat, the Moving Fortress. Now, we don't have this card yet. It's not very good, but we're not allowed to play it. Darkness Drone Tech Rex doesn't really matter. Drilling Mandrill we don't have yet. Drilling Track Tiger we don't have yet. We won't be able to use any of the Jinzo cards, but by the time the Jinzo cards come out, I don't think it will matter anyway, because bearing in mind, the Jinzo cards could come out a bit earlier. Again, if we heavily restrict access to the cards that they get. Some of these cards are like probably fine to come out. But by the time they do come out, I would expect us to have different Cyber Dragon skills anyway. Like, I just kind of would expect that to just be a thing. There's a lot of like garbage in here that we don't really care about, basically. And why don't we care about it? That's because a lot of our Cyber Dragon stuff is going to be level 8. So if we look at here, we can use Shield Boring Kong. Way! Isn't that great? And then we have one of the best burn tools for Earth Machine, which, again, my picture's kind of in the way. This burns your opponent, that's all you need to know. Stats are a bit crap. Then there's Printing Presser, which again is a boss monster that doesn't really matter. Vice Jacker, again, isn't really going to matter. The big ones are obviously going to be the Cyber Dragon Fusions and the Cyber Dragon level 8 monsters, which we will talk about a little bit. Or we will talk a little bit in a little bit and go over those. Bro is a Rush Duel connoisseur. Exactly. For anyone thinking the skill stops you using Mirror, so don't need to worry about limiting Cyber Dragon, people will just use different skills to use Mirror. Yes. Again, I think pre-fusions, I don't know if it matters. Oh, I guess it would. Does it matter? It's a weird one, because I don't think Cyber Dragon pre-fusion matters, like, at all. I don't think you'd play it in Mirror Innovator. What you might want to do, though, is use the level 8 Cyber Dragon monsters. In which case, if you have access to them, you would just use Proto Cyber Dragon anyway. So, in a weird way, I could actually see Proto Cyber Dragon being limited 3, which would be so funny. But unironically, I could see that happening. Like, I don't think it's likely, but I think there is a world in which they do that. But yeah, so can be activated on turn 2 onwards. One face-up monster on your field with 2100 or 2400 attack. So 2100 is going to be Cyber Dragon. 2400 is going to be the level 8 Cyber Dragon monsters. Gain 500 attack. So importantly, that means a Cyber Dragon can now clear a 25. And we can go up to 29, which is a relevant-ish number. I think when we do get fusions, 29 is going to be a bit more... Does this matter? A lot of the fusions have like 3k attack. So, until the end of the turn. Then you can return one card from your hand to your deck to add Proto Cyber Dragon. Oh, we've got the speed one up there. From your deck or graveyard to your hand once per duel. Now, this is obviously very important, because when we get fusions, it makes sense, right? This guy's treated as Cyber Dragon, so that will work quite nicely. But a lot of the other cards, the other boss monsters, if we go find one quick. There is Cyber Assault Dragon. This is a level 8 Cyber Dragon monster. You can tribute summon this card in attack position by tributing one face-up Cyber Dragon. So even without fusions, there is still use to having Proto Cyber Dragon, because we can just tribute over it to summon out Cyber Assault Dragon. 2400 attack is a little bit low. But again, the skill will put us up to 29, so we at least have that. We can place one Cyber Dragon from our graveyard on top of your deck. Now, this is where it gets a bit funny, because this has to actually be a Cyber Dragon, right? Because Proto Cyber Dragon is only while it's on the field. It's continuous effect. It is not while it's in the graveyard. So, we can't do anything with that. But we can destroy one face-up level 8 or lower monster with 2400 or more attack on your opponent's field. So this is actually very restrictive. So it doesn't work on maximums. It doesn't work on most fusions. And it doesn't work on, like, bad boss monsters. It only works on 2400 or more attack. So, like, you can use this to pop Innovator, which is fine. You can use it to pop, like, Dragius. You can use it to pop Hydron. You can't use it to pop Seven's Robe Magician. You can't use it to pop Receptacle Manny. So, like, there are some, like, weird restrictions that we can't do anything with this. Hello, Beam. Welcome, welcome. I guess before we just go through all the other Cyber Dragon cards that we want to look at, we'll just talk a little bit about this. We have the Data Mined IDs with free or paid. I don't really know what that's about. And updated the This month's Rush Fusion IDs, Wizard Knight and Fairy Fusion to Paladin and Sky Soldier. Sky Soldier is a bit of a weird one. Paladin is fine. These were Magical Knights originally in the original translation, but it became Paladin, so that's fine. Sky Soldier is a bit weird. These were always Celestial Warriors in the physical game. I don't know if they actually got changed. Let me open this up. Let's do that. Let's open this up and check out some of our... Yeah, so he's still a Celestial Warrior at the moment. On here. So it's a bit weird that he is... I mean, you can't see the text, but I can. Like, you can see the text of the picture of the card, right? But this is just a fan-made English translation. So in the actual database, they are still calling it a Celestial Warrior. And basically, this program is updated based on the current translations that we have access to that are official from Konami. So as far as this is concerned, Konami is still calling them Celestial Warriors. So that's an interesting one. Hi, Tomato. When will Fusion come out, Tomato? We don't know yet, Duke. Again, my guess, my gamble, my prediction is going to be end of September. That is what I think. We'll have to wait and see if that actually ends up happening. I wonder if they changed it from Celestial so they can make Celestial Warrior archetype in the future. I mean, they could do. It's a bit weird because, like, the original name... We just, close this. The original name on here was Fairy Warrior. Now, again, the Celestial Warriors are made of a fairy and a warrior, so I get why it says, like, Fairy Warrior. But Sky Soldier is such a weird name. Maybe it's, again, to try and avoid having issues like Manicus was saying before about how is Omega Psychic... Does that work with Psychic cards? Maybe they're trying to just, like, right, people are clearly confused by this. Let's just completely take the words like Psychic and Dragon and everything else out of there. Which could be interesting when we do get the other ones. Because this could be an indication that we're going to be changing them into something else. Like, what would you change an Omega Psychic to if you weren't going to call it Omega Psychic? What on earth would you call it? Like, Omega Psycho? That could be fun. Fusion is the greatest gift from Konami. I mean, it's pretty fun. Me too, since we have no world release. Yeah, I think it makes sense to remove confusion. Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean, right? The only issue is we do already have a Rush Duel game. I suppose it's in Japanese, so it doesn't really matter. Because we have the Go Rush Switch game. But that game's in Japanese, so none of the translations really matter. When they get localized, they can get localized to whatever the heck they want. Paladin we've already been seeing for a while. So now having Sky Soldier, this is the first time we're seeing this. So we might see it get updated on EDO as well. But now, let us take a look at the cards that we think or we predict that we could get with Cyber Dragon's release in what we assume to be a Cyber Dragon structure. The reason we think this is a structure is because it's a singular skill. Usually whenever we get a singular skill like this, it is part of a structure deck release, and it would make sense to have a rush structure, right? So first off, oh, look at this card. It's Cyber Dragon. I know most of you probably haven't seen this card before. This is a little well-known card from the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime, which I'm sure is a show that no one in the chat has watched. I mean, you're all fake Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans, right? But yeah, anyway, enough with the meme. Cyber Dragon is Cyber Dragon. It was absolutely ridiculous when it came out in the physical game, in TCG. In Rush, it was fine. Basically, most of the time, this card was a bit mid, unless you're exactly fusion summoning with it. So, I think this card's fine. 2100 attack, 1600 defense is one of the nicest things. Basically, this is only 200 defense lower than a Flame Cerberus. So, if you're looking for just a good one tribute monster, this is kind of fine. No, I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Just haven't finished GX. I mean, that is completely fine. But if you started it, you should know what Cyber Dragon is, because he's in episode 12 or something. So when that Cyber Dragon releases, how do you rate it? So again, if Cyber Dragon came out in a vacuum, with no support cards whatsoever, literally none, I think this card would barely see any play. I don't even know if people would play this in Mirror Innovator decks, right? In machines. Because again, it doesn't work with the skill. A lot of the time, if you have any monster on the field, which there are a lot of situations where you'll just start your turn with the monster on the field already, it just doesn't do anything. Only see a few episodes, okay? Me on episode 5. Come on, guys, you got to catch up. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. We'll have a watch-along at some point. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX is so good. It's so peak. Some of it is so mean, but some of it is so good. Like Jaden versus Zane. Every single duel Zane is ever in is always incredible. Like, all of Crowler's duels are incredible. Episode 1, even, just Jaden versus Crowler is such an iconic duel. Like, it's so good. It's so good. Now, I want to see you use it. I mean, we'll have to wait and see for that. If you can... We watch it in English. If you can we can watch it in English. I mean, we're probably not going to do that, but it would be a nice little idea. But yeah, Cyber Dragon. Cyber Dragon's neat. It's fine. 2100 is still just a 2100 guy. Getting that one cheaper is nice, but it's nothing like super special, right? Then we have Proto Cyber Dragon. We're almost certainly getting this card because it is listed in the skill. Again, we've already spoken about this card a little bit, but I heckin' love light machines. Yeah! See, Grand knows. Grand knows. Welcome on in, by the way, Grand. Sorry, I hate the GX season. Oh, how do you hate GX? Bruh. Dragson. Come on, man. GX is peak. It does say something as well that most of my favorite duels in GX do involve machine monsters. I don't know if there's like a coinky-dink there, but... Epic. But the epic moments in GX when Jaden duels against Ra. Trying to think who Ra is in this. Machine strongest. Psychics still trash, by the way. Alright, Grand's putting his foot down. We're going to start the machine enthusiast versus the psychic enthusiast like fight going on. They heard Grand complain about psychics and are trying to put us back in the machine meta. It's so funny as well how the skill specifically is like, we're going to give you more machine cards. Please, please don't use Mirror Innovator with them. It's like, yeah, but, right, we could just put Mirror Innovator in there, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Proto Cyber Dragon. Stats are a bit mid. Again, we use this to go into our boss monsters, and we use this to make fusions. Outside of that is kind of whatever. The skill is nice to be able to fix your hand, but you can only use it once, unlike the current machine skill, which just lets you just keep doing it again and again and again. So I guess it makes sense because we're going to have fusions eventually, and that will make it kind of busted. The next card we're going to look at is Cyber Total. Actually, okay. This card is okay. If we have no other monsters on our field, we can excavate the top 3 cards of our deck. We can special summon an excavated level 5 machine type monster face up to your field and place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck. Now this is okay, right? If we do hit a level 5, which in this case would just be Cyber Dragon, we get a free body onto the field, and it's a reasonably big body. Now we'd only ever want to do that if we're then going to tribute Cyber Kotal, because we don't really want to leave a 500 attack monster on the field. That's kind of stupid. But if we do that, wham bam, +1, that's great. Also, it goes into fusions, so when we do get the fusions, we'll be able to make stuff out of that. That's neat. There is also one other level 5 monster that we'll talk about in a little bit, which does make this card a lot better, because basically it doubles the odds that it works. So if we did get that, that would be a lot better. If we don't get that card, this card feels a little bit like our... What's that god-awful Dark Magician card we have right now? It's like Dark Magical Curtain. This thing... This thing's garbage. Where is it? It's over there. That thing's garbage, right? So the problem with this card is, if you get lucky, it's okay. 700 life points is very steep, right? Not gonna lie. And if we do get one card off this, it's kind of fine, right? The problem is, statistically, you're not gonna get one of your cards. Now, again, if we high roll and we get a Dark Magician Go and a Dark Magician, great. Fantastic. We've just +2'd for 700 life points. That is amazing. Now, the issue then becomes, how do we get them out of our hand and onto the field and do something actually relevant with them? That might still be a bit of a problem, but at least just +2'ing can be kind of good. Now, this cheats it straight out to the field, which is a lot better, and doesn't require us to give up 700 of our 6,000 life points, which is, again, a lot better. Narbro, fire better, so is Dragon. Yeah? Since we likely get a Cyber Dragon structure deck, how many Cyber Dragon cards do you think we will get? So, we're getting these two, right? We kind of know that. I think we could get Cyber Kotal. I think this card's probably fine. I don't know if we would get this card, but this is on the, like, likely to, like, would be fine kind of tier. Is kind of where I'm at. I'm in episode 85. Cyber Dragon is one of the strongest decks so far in GX. Oh yeah, in GX. You could also get Cybertech Alligator. That is very true. We could also get a Cybertech Alligator. Now, Cybertech Alligator doesn't work with all the other cards, because a lot of the cards do require you to have light monsters, but we'll get into those in a little bit. But yeah, definitely could use Cybertech Alligator. How can you say Cyrus owning Cyber Dragon Tomato? How can you say Cyrus owning Cyber Dragon Tomato? Sorry, Duke, you're gonna have to break that down for me. Or Sonic Attacker or Cannon Rider. I don't think that we're going to see any of those cards see any play. Now, to be fair, if these cards came out pre-fusion and we didn't have access to Cyber Twin or Cyber End, you might actually see Rhino see a bit of play, because we need something to be able to deal with Set 3 Pass. And we have a lot of ways to like do stuff with level 5 machines, so like that, maybe. Sonic Attacker is straight garbage. We're not seeing that see any play. Then the next card we're going to talk about is Cyber Entry. This is another one of those likely / could easily come out. Whether or not Konami decide to do it is a whole other question. But if we have 3 or more light attribute machine monsters in our graveyard, we can special summon a Cyber Dragon or Proto Cyber Dragon from our hand or graveyard face up to our field. So again, almost always going to be graveyard, right? We want to get that extra like value from it. And then this turn you can only attack with light attribute machine type monsters. This card actually did mess me up before. I'll tell you what we could do. We could go over to... I don't want to go to VODs. We go to Tomato Swords. Let's go check out the old YouTube real quick. We go to our shorts. Shouldn't take too long to find it. Where are you? Cyber Dragon. This one. Right, we're going to watch a short quick. Hopefully this isn't deafeningly loud. Ah, perfect. It's completely muted. Do we want this to be muted? Is there any way to, like, unmute it? Well, I guess we're just going to have it muted. Thank you for the follow, Barox. But yeah, this is us playing Cyber Dragons. So we can activate the effect of... We'll talk about this one in a little bit, but this just lets you get a draw, basically. So we tribute 2 to summon out Mirror Innovator. Go ahead and activate this, which does lock us into only attacking with light machines. Then we activate the Power Bond, obviously fusing our 2 cards together into a Cyber Twin as double attack. Then we activate Ancient Barrier. This is to put some cards back in our deck, but it will also protect our monsters from being destroyed by trap cards. So obviously if our opponent had like a negate attack, we still couldn't do anything with that. This is Griffin, which also lets us draw a card, but also will let us make it so our card again can't be destroyed by trap cards. Then we tribute over for Jinzo, because we're like, okay, so Jinzo is... You know, we don't have to worry about trap cards anymore, and then we just have lethal, right? But Jinzo is a dark machine, therefore we weren't able to attack. So we kind of lost game there. But yeah, that's well, I think we did end up winning that game in the end, but it just goes to show that some of these restrictions do matter. So like we had effectively lethal, and we just kind of tossed it away. So that doesn't happen. There's an unmute button when your mouse is over it. That's fine. We didn't need to listen to me talking anyway. It's from so long ago. Never seen this channel before. What was that? Zane. This bloody mouse wheel. I hate it. I hate it. Zane gave his Cyber Dragons to Cyrus. Yes, when he had heart problems. What can you say about Cyrus being the new owner of Zane's? What can I say about it? Not much. It was fine. It was narratively very satisfying. It let Cyrus go full circle. Let's be honest, when Zane went into his like Cyber Dark Edgelord phase, that was like the worst Zane. We want like cool collected Zane from like season 1. That's best Zane. Taking a break from the grind. How is the grind going, Void? I mean, same with Aim Eagle, Bijumbo, or Bicorn. Yeah, exactly. The music choices are bangers. Oh, we always love the music here. But yeah, Cyber Entry, good card. This could just come out like it's basically just a normal summon. If we don't have fusions as well, it doesn't actually sort any of that out. This is just a consistency tool, basically, to help us get into some of the boss monsters. And one of those boss monsters we have already talked about, but now we'll jump back to it. Cyber Assault Dragon. 2400 attack, 1800 defense. Pretty okay stats. It is nice to see some of these boss monsters have high defense value, so they don't just lose to Sword and Shield. But we contribute this card in attack position by attributing 1 face-up Cyber Dragon. So that's a Proto Cyber Dragon or a Cyber Dragon. We can place a Cyber Dragon from our graveyard on top of the deck. Like we said before, this has to be an actual Cyber Dragon because Proto Cyber Dragon is only Cyber Dragon while it is on the field. Effect, destroy 1 face-up level 8 or lower monster with 2400 or more attack on your opponent's field. And again, this does not work on most fusions. This will not work on maximum monsters. This does not work on wimpy monsters either. It has to be level 8 or lower, 2400 or more attack. So this won't actually work on Seven's Road Magician or Perceptical Manny, but will work on the majority of major boss monsters that you'll see. This will work on Mirror Innovator. This will work on Dragius. This will work on Hydron, etc., etc. So, just need to level up 2 stages to get the characters I want. Nice. The best duel Zane has made so far dueling with you, Bell. Which deck is stronger, Crystal Beast or Cyber Dragon? Cyber Dragon, without a doubt. Crystal Beast is a mean deck. I'm saying it now. Thank you for following Enagon Vlada, and that is the follower goal complete. But yeah, Cyber Assault Dragon is pretty good. It's not a bad one. It's fine. It has a few restrictions on it, but that is a-okay. Now we'll take a look at the next boss monster. This is Cyber Search Dragon. Now, as you probably noticed, it has a very similar stat line. Now, the defense points are a little bit lower, but that, again, 1600 is still better than not 1600. You can tribute summon this card in attack position by tributing a face-up Cyber Dragon. That sounds familiar. So during your main phase, this card was normal or special summoned. We can place a card from our hand on the top of our deck to special summon a Cyber Dragon from your graveyard face up to your field. Now again, this has to be a regular Cyber Dragon because none of the other Cyber Dragons are Cyber Dragon in the graveyard at the moment in Rush. So, it's okay, right? If this card came out, we'd have a way to cheat out a 2100 body after summoning it, and then we could use our skill to boost this up to 29, and then ideally this plus a Cyber Dragon, or we could boost Cyber Dragon up to 26 and then have this as a 24, and then hopefully that's enough to clear 2 of your opponent's cards. If they've got double boss monster, that's not going to be still particularly easy, so it's a little bit awkward. You know, I'm going to watch episode of GX right now. Yeah, you should. GX is great. So Cyber Search I think could come out quite easily. Thank you for the follow, James BPG. Welcome to the squad. So now we're getting into some cards that I think are less likely to come out. Now, it's not impossible. I'm not flat out saying these cards aren't coming out, but we're getting into the level of these cards maybe could be a bit too good, depending on how things play out. So this is the first one, Cyber Processor. So this was actually not released alongside the Cyber Dragon cards. This is support released after the Cyber Dragon cards had already come out to make the Cyber Dragon deck more consistent because it was a little bit high roll. So this actually adds a lot of consistency to the deck. So this is a level 5, so again, works with all the other level 5 cards. 1500, 1600, a bit weak. But if we have a face-up machine-type monster on our field, we can special summon this card from your hand face-up to your field. So that's okay. We get an okay-statted guy for free. Now, one of the nice things is we can put this face-up defense, which there are some situations where having a face-up monster is beneficial. Usually it's better to have face-down, but that is something to take note of. We can send one other card from our field to the graveyard, so notably Spell Trap or Monster. This card's name becomes Cyber Dragon this turn. Okay, so it turns itself into Cyber Dragon. That means we can now tribute it to summon out our boss monsters. And we can now use it for fusions. But then we can also special summon a Cyber Dragon from our graveyard face up to our field. So what people quite often do is they'll go, well, I've got a monster on the field, let's say a Cyber Dragon. Then I'll special summon a Cyber Processor. Then I'm going to send my Cyber Dragon to the graveyard and then bring my Cyber Dragon back. And I've changed my name to Cyber Dragon for free. Or you can just like get rid of an annoying back row that you can't use and then just bring back a Cyber Dragon, right? So either way, there's lots of different ways to use this card and it's just very, very strong. There are a few cards I'm scared of seeing in Duel Links with speed duels, yeah? Like what? So GX is like the Harry Potter of Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, kind of. It's all based around a school. So in that sense, yes. Maybe not now, but doesn't mean we have to wait too much for Processor to release. After all, Chaos Femtron. We got Chaos Femtron early. Right, but to flip that back on you a little bit, we did get the Harpy Lady Sisters when Maximums came out. We have not seen another Harpy Lady support card since then. So, although we could see Processor come out relatively short after, we don't necessarily have to, right? It could be another year before we see Cyber Processor, or it could come out the next month. Like, we don't know. We really, really do not know. Maxi shouldn't exist in any game. The Wind Witch cards. Ah, you don't like the Wind Witch cards. But we'll have to see what actually ends up happening with that. Again, I'm not too ultra familiar with Wind Witch. It's never been an archetype that was particularly interesting to me. Even in the anime, when it was used during Arc V, I kinda like glossed over them. Like, in my mind, those weren't like the most exciting duels for me. It's the same reason I wasn't a big fan of Lyrilusk. Like, when a deck doesn't appeal to me aesthetically, or the mechanics of the deck don't immediately stand out to me as being really, really cool, I just kind of, you know, I'm here, I'm watching, I'm maybe not paying full attention. So the next card I think that we're not likely to get is Cyber Serpent. 0 attack, 0 defense, level 1 machine-like monster. If we have another face-up light attribute machine-type monster on our field, we can send the top 3 cards of our deck to the graveyard. Okay, a Miller. That's actually pretty good. Then if we sent 2 or more light attribute machine-type monsters, so we're gambling a little bit, to the graveyard, by this effect, we can draw a card. Now, why do I think this card won't come out? Well, it's because you can just put this in the machine deck that we currently have with Innovator, and then give it a free plus, and also fill the graveyard to use Innovator and Bicorn's effect. That's my primary reason I don't think this will come out. I think the main weakness of the machine deck right now is twofold. One, if you don't see Mirror Innovator, the deck's a bit crap. It doesn't really do that much. And two, the deck doesn't have too many ways to plus, thus meaning a lot of the time you'll end on like Mirror Innovator 1 monster, or like Mirror Innovator 2 back row, and that's kind of it. Which, it's why I think the Monarch deck actually has been doing quite well into it, is because the Monarch deck with Wilhells really like to punish your opponent for not having many resources. And machines don't have many resources. So I think Cyber Serpent would see play just because plussing would be very, not necessarily like valuable, but it's very desirable, right? The Wind Witch cards make it where you can finish on Crystal Wing that can't be destroyed by card effects. I mean, that sounds perfectly balanced. I don't know what's wrong with that. Konami seem to be just giving us new decks, and then if they don't work, they just give it a couple of cards to help Cybers. So I wouldn't expect a lot of deck support after we get a bunch from a box or structure. I mean, yeah, basically. And if a deck does come out as a structure deck, Konami seems to forget about it, right? Like, for the longest time, we were like, okay, they're going to give us some Volt Condor support now. Any day now, and we just never saw it. Ridercross came out. Oh, where's the Ridercross support? Oh, it's just non-existent. The only, like, difference there, I suppose, is the... I mean, I guess, really, it's just the Blue Eye structure. But even, does that even count? Like, they were supporting the Legend spell that everyone got, so... 3 more copies of Craft the Drone. Well, the thing is, Craft the Drone, like, goes even, right? You -1/+1. This is just a plus, because you're not losing a card from your hand. And the extra plussing is really, really important. Now, there is obviously a chance you just whiff with this, and that sucks, but, you know, you got to gamble. By the way, guys, Tomato isn't saying what is or isn't coming. He's saying based on his ideas. He also said we wouldn't get Burst Stream as it was too strong. To be fair, I said we weren't going to get Burst Stream a long time ago, right? Like, we're talking like multiple months ago. So, like, the power level does increase with time as well. And also, it was limited 1. If we got Burst Stream at 3, that would be absolutely insane. Tier 1 Sidra incoming. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But Cyber Serpent, yeah, I don't expect Cyber Serpent to come out. Next up, Cyber Griffin. And this card can't come out for the exact same reason that I don't think Cyber Serpent's going to come out. And that's because you slap this guy right next to Innovator, and suddenly it becomes a problem. So this is a decently statted card, 1200, 1300, not too bad. Level 4 Light Machine. Send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard. That is quite a steep cost, but it is worth it, because we can choose 1 face-up level 5 or higher machine monster on our field, and this turn, that monster cannot be destroyed by your opponent's trap card effects. Now, right now, that's not going to be as impactful, but in the Machine Mirror, or playing against Cyburst, or playing against some of the Aqua builds, the Bubble Arrow, that's still going to be very important, because Widespread still is a card that exists, and as we get more trap cards in the future, we will eventually get some that actually do things, right? So there's that. But then, on top of all of that, if that monster is a light attribute monster, you can also draw a card. So it's basically Craft the Drone as well, with better stats. So, you know, it's pretty good. What if Serpent or Griffin were one of reward like Ultracorn? So that would probably be okay, but the problem is that, again, you would still see them just seeing play in that deck, right? This would, no matter what, if this was 1 copy or 3 copies, you would see it played in machines, right? And I think we're just trying to avoid giving machines anything, which is why I don't think these cards would come out. And then another card we don't think is going to come out is Evolution Rush Burst. So, once again, this card is just not restrictive enough. If we have a face-up level 5 or higher machine-type monster, guess what that means, guys. That means Mirror Innovator is a level 5 or higher machine-type monster. We can shuffle 5 light attribute machine-type monsters from our graveyard into the deck, which I guess, that's not a great thing, right? Basically, you want to keep your machines in the graveyard so you can use Innovator and you can use Bicorn with them. So, like, that's kind of negative. But then we just get to pop any card. Spell card, trap card, monster card, maximum card, face up, face down, does not matter. This is better than Thousand Knives. This is better than Tribute to the Doomed. This is just amazing. Right, this card can't come out. It cannot come out. If this was specifically, you can only use this with Cyber Dragon, maybe. But it's not, right? If it was level 5 machine only, maybe we could see some play. But, nah, it's too good. It's too good. Lifetime rewards can still have limit slap on them. Very true. Hello, my sweet Mr. Tomato, and hello, my cute chat. Hope you all have a great Monday. Hello, Sakadetsu. Welcome on in. Hope you're having a lovely day. 1 cost less for better Ace Breaker. Hey, basically. We're so going to get Rush Burst as a one-off. I mean, probably. Now, how early would that be? I don't know. Like, do you think this would be in the structure deck? I don't know if... It could do, but it's so good, right? Any card on the field for right now in the current metagame is insane. Like, that is actually bonkers. Now, maybe after a couple of months or so. I mean, maybe, but it's the issue isn't the card itself, it's the rest of the meta around the card. There's nothing even close to this card right now. Like, it's so good. Like, as a one-off spell card even. More like machine support. I mean, basically, yeah. Alright, so the next card we don't think we're going to get, Battle Demotion. So this is a trap card, and that means Konami will refuse to print it or put it in the game because Konami hates trap cards. But this is one of those cards that will probably come out around the time Fusions come out, probably like a couple sets after, just because this is a support card for a Fusion monster that is going to come out called, what's his name? It's like CEO or something. Let's see if we can find it. This guy. So there's Worker Warrior Sinister CEO. This is a 2400 attack, like machine. If your opponent has a face-up level 7 or higher monster on the field, we can send 1 monster from our hand to the graveyard to set up to 1 of each Salary Slash and Battle Demotion from your graveyard to your spell and trap card zone. So I think when this card comes out, which will come out eventually, again, it has a fusion attached to it as well, then we will get Battle Demotion, but I don't think it will come out yet, even though it's basically a staple in most, especially early Cyber Dragon decks, and just early machine decks in general. And then the fusion's also kind of nice. This card gains attack equal to the number of machine-type monsters in your graveyard times 200, so it's kind of like, you know, a 7-0 magician type effect, or like Night Vision with trap cards, I guess. And then you can place a Salary Slash or Battle Demotion from your graveyard on the bottom of your deck, and if you do, draw a card, which is quite nice. The Battle Demotion is just a really strong trap card. When your opponent's monster declares an attack, and you have on your face-up machine-type monster, pay 600 life points, so pay 10% of your life points in Duel Links. Change 1 attack position monster in your opponent's field to face-up defensive position. So that doesn't actually have to be the monster that's currently declaring an attack. So if your opponent attacks with their maybe weaker monster first, we can actually change their stronger monster to defense mode, which is very, very strong. Imagine Cyber Limit 3, no fusions. Rush would be like playing Blue Eyes. I mean, kind of, in a lot of ways. But yeah, Battle Demotion, I don't think this card's going to come out, even though, again, this is a machine staple for like the longest time, but I don't think it's going to come out. Another trap card, and we already know this card isn't coming out because it has this written on it. And that means Konami hates this card, right? It's a purple card. It has the words Beast Gear on it. That means Konami, or pink, I guess. It's a pink card, which means Konami hate it. So when an opponent's monster declares an attack targeting your face-up level 7 to 9 Beast Warrior, Fiend, or Machine monster, change the attacking monster to face-up defense position. Then if we changed a Dragon, Spellcaster, or Fairy to defense position by this effect, we can destroy a spell trap on our opponent's field. So, again, this card did see a bit of play, but it's a trap card, so it's not coming out. I'm calling it Cyber Limit 3 Rush Spell 1-of. So you think Evolution Rush Burst is going to be a 1? I mean, it could do. I just think it's too good, right? Just pop any card. Like, this gives you an out to maximum. This gives you an out to, like, face down so you can beat set 3 pass. This lets you pop an extra back row so you can play 3 Iron Onslaught and then your Evolution Rush Burst. It's so good. So good. And then the next card we're going to talk about is another trap card, which again means, say it with me, we're not going to see it printed because Konami hate trap cards. But when your opponent normal summons a monster, we can send a face-up level 5 or higher machine-type monster from a field to the graveyard, change that normal summon monster to face-down defense position. Right, that is already a really good effect, right? Even if we forget this last part, we are already playing this as a card that can react to a normal summon by changing it to face-down defense. That is so good. Even if you think that's not very good right now, when fusions come out, the way that we fusion summon is we have to get all our monsters on the field, then activate a fusion spell card. So the second your opponent tributes out the big monster of their fusion, like the Yami Ruler, the Seven's Robe Magician, the Dragius, we'll just put it face down, back to down to face down defense. You can no longer fusion for the turn. Like, it's so good. But then, on top of that, we can special summon a Cyber Assault Dragon or Cyber Stealth Dragon from our graveyard face up to our field. So we also then just get a boss monster back from the graveyard, which again, we have a load of those cards in the Rush Duel game, but then none of those have come out yet. We don't have the Aqua one to bring back Dean Keto. We don't have the Night Vision one to bring back Night Vision. So, you know, there is that. Less restricted than Forever Freeze. Yeah, this card is just crazy. And the other reason I don't think we're going to get it is because I don't think we're going to get Cyber Stealth Dragon. And why do we not think we're going to get Cyber Stealth Dragon? That's because this guy, first off, has 2,500 attack, so he doesn't work with the skill. That's like the first red flag. Next up, once again, we contribute this card in attack position by tributing a face-up Cyber Dragon, and then he has a continuous effect, which is if we have Cyber Dragon in our graveyard, this card gains 2,000 defense and cannot be destroyed by monster effects. So basically, this is a 2,800 defense monster with built-in protection, and I think Konami just don't want that in the game. We've already seen a reluctance to put anything above 2,500 defense in the game, and there are some cards that could have been printed that Konami have chosen not to do. We've already seen Konami take a stance against, like, Stall Burn, as they hit the Noodle deck very, very harshly. I think Cyber Stealth Dragon probably won't come out for these reasons. I think it would be too much of a wall for some decks to overcome. Don't get me wrong, a lot of decks aren't going to give a shit, right? A lot of decks can boost well over 28 and not care. But there are some decks that can't. So I think it would make sense to just not bring this card out yet. Elephant gets 2,700 with Forest. Yes, with Forest though, right? You know, there is a little bit, there's at least a little bit there, right? It does need to have Forest on the field. And I can't even imagine that deck doing remotely anything. This thing also gets to 2,500 attack. And then we're going to talk about the fusions. So again, I am on the side of the fence, which is I think we're going to get Cyber Dragons without fusions first, and then we'll get fusions as we go, right? I think the fusions will come, and they'll come sooner than later, but I don't think they're going to come out immediately, right? So Cyber End Dragon, everyone knows what this card does. 3 Cyber Dragons, 4,000 attack, piercing. If we make it with a power bond, it's 8,000 attack piercing, and that is going to end the game most of the time in Duel Links. So I don't think we're getting this. I also don't think we're getting Cyber Twin. Again, everyone should already know this card. 2 Cyber Dragons, can attack twice. This card sees a lot more play than Cyber End, but that shouldn't really surprise anyone. That's also how it was in the TCG. And then we're going to talk about our new fusions. We have the other new fusion. We'll talk about this one first, actually. This is the original Cyber Dragon fusion in Rush. Just finished episode 2 of GX, also can't chat for a bit. Well, I hope you're enjoying it, Void. Yeah, we're not going to get fusions, that's why I think the evolution spell is at least a 1-of. I mean, it could be. So this is made using the same material as Cyber Twin, right? 2,800 attack, so same stats. If your opponent has a monster on their field, we can draw until we have 5 cards in our hand, and then we send 4 cards from our hand to the graveyard. So we're basically going to get a 1 card out of this, right? Because we're drawing up to 5. So let's say we have 0, we draw a whole 5, and then we send 4 of those to the graveyard, we get to keep 1 card. And then we can special summon 1 machine-type monster from our hand face up to our field. So this is a bit of a weird one, right? Because what options are we going to have to go into from this? Like Cyber Dragon? Possibly. And then maybe the other boss monsters we talked about earlier, such as Cyber Stealth and Cyber Assault, which are like fine. If we get out Cyber Search, we can then also cheat out a Cyber Dragon from the graveyard, because this does work when it's special summoned. If we do get out Cyber Assault, then we can pop a card, which also could be pretty good. So like there is a couple of different things you could do with it. I think realistically, this is the least broken of the Cyber Dragon fusions. Like End and Twin, you could see just ending games. Cyber Rush Dragon is still good, but it's like balanced good, right? So like I think it's fine. Send your whole hand of monsters away to Innovator Boost. I mean, you could do. Definitely could do. And then the last fusion, I think this is the last one anyway, is Cyber Tactical Dragon. So this card's pretty cool. It's made using a Cyber Assault Dragon and a Cyber Dragon. So for anyone who has already forgotten, Cyber Assault Dragon is this one. So using this and a Cyber Dragon, we can make Tactical Dragon. Has 3,200 attack, which is quite nice. We can shuffle 2 light attribute machine type monsters from our graveyard into the deck, so 2 innovators. Then we can destroy it to 2 face-up monsters on your opponent's field whose total attack is less than or equal to this card. So that's a bit weird, right? Basically, the gimmick is supposed to be you're supposed to power bond into this, have a ton of attack, and then pop 2 boss monsters, right? But because that's not going to happen most of the time, usually you'll just pop, like, a guy and just kind of be happy with that, right? So, like, it's okay. Again, we don't think we're going to get any of these fusions, but we thought we'd talk about them. And then another card we're not going to get is going to be Power Bond. Because if we're not getting fusions, why do we need a fusion card? Power Bond is still really, really good, and it's even better in Rush because you can use it like Polymerization, where we don't have to fuse from the field, which is so, so good. As well as doubling original attack is obviously going to be really, really strong. Now, if we're able to summon, like, let's say a Jinzo, and we don't lock ourselves like we did in our short that we watched earlier, then we just get to basically end the game, right? 8,000 piercing, and your opponent can't use back row. We win, right? Or 5,600 that can attack twice. A lot of the time, that's going to end the game. Now, obviously, this burn effect at the end has always been there, but there's nothing new there. It's neat. And that's kind of it. That's it for, like, the Cyber Dragon cards. So we've kind of gone over all of them. So, yeah, there's that. Cyber Dragon in Rush Duel is real. Yes, we have this. This is what we have. This is the information we have. This is our source. Rush Duel skills, Cyber Dragon skill. So we know that we're going to get monsters at a 2,400 attack. We know that we're going to get them a 2,100 attack, which means we know we're getting Cyber Dragon, and we know we're going to get either Assault or Cyber Search or both. And then because the skill specifically searches Proto, we know we're getting Proto as well. That's kind of where we're at right now with that. But the question is, how do we think this deck's going to perform, right? Now, it's hard to gauge without having access to all the cards. But what we will say is, if we do get the cards that we're predicting them to get, the deck's going to be, like, fine. Nothing, like, super special, realistically. Like, the skill doesn't do much heavy lifting. We still can't really beat set 3 pass with this deck. So, as Whistling Bird was saying before, we might see Rhino see a bit of play. We never know. Cool time to play Heavy Metal in Cyber Dragons. Well, unfortunately, you can't play it in this one. Because this locks us into only machine-type monsters. We're not allowed to use level 7, but Heavy Metal's an 8, so that wouldn't matter anyway. But you could play Cyber Dragon in Heavy Metal. Right, that could work. I'm trying to think, does Heavy Metal have to use Fiends or not? I don't think it does. But that, again, that's assuming it's not just immediately limit 3'd. No, just level 5 or higher monster. So there is possibility there. But, now, we're going to go ahead and look at tier lists, because we haven't updated our tier lists in a while. And what that means is we're going to have to change over our Chrome, because this one's in a bit of a weird spot. So if we do that. So this is going to be our new tier list. It's officially been 2 weeks since this format. So we're going to have a look and go over some things. So first thing we have are data, because the data is everything. We need data. We thrive on data. So we have our current tier list. I hate my mouse wheel. I despise it. I need to just bite the bullet and buy a new mouse. So this is our current tier list. We do have a better like looking version of this, I suppose, over here. So this is currently, as of like 2-3 weeks ago. I think it's about 3 weeks ago we did this. This is where we kind of saw everything in the power level of decks as they were. This again is pre-new box, so we have not added anything. We have changed some of the pictures. For example, Melody is now here, but this is, you know, this is pre-Melody Psychic is down here in bottom of tier 3. So the question is, how do we want to do this? So Psychic has obviously been performing the best, but has it been outperforming absolutely everything else? The other thing is, so I tend to, personally, buy a goddamn new mouse. Yeah, I need to buy a new mouse. The problem, it's not even like getting the new mouse. It's, I like to go and like physically buy my mouse, and like the store where I would go and get a new mouse is like kind of far away, so I kind of have to make like a day of it, or at least like commit a few hours to it. So like there's that. I could just order one off of like Amazon, but I prefer doing it the way I like to do it, right? I'm an old man. But so I tend to look at this. I think this is important. I think the point system is extraordinarily valuable rather than just looking at representation, because this way things get skewed more towards the decks that are performing well. The question is, should I be looking more at the top 8? Right? Because top 8 is fine. The only thing is, because the tournaments for Rush are generally so small, top 8 usually has a lot more variance, right? Just random ass stuff makes it in. Case in point, Resonance, Overlord, and Noodles are here, whereas we wouldn't even consider them if we were just looking at top 4. But you get decks like Blue Eyes, which do make top 4 quite a lot, but do not make top, or do make top 8 quite a lot, but do not make top 4 quite a lot, right? I think top 8. Okay. I think we should use it, but we should use it as like a backup. It's kind of how I kind of want to use it. Because like I don't like the idea of just being like, well, Blue Eyes is just the 3rd best deck. That seems weird to me. Obviously, we're not going to just take this like wholesale, but Rush is more flexible. Rush is definitely more flexible. That is for sure. The thing with Rush is that on a good day, any deck, like any of these decks that haven't even seen any tops, can easily take games off of any of these. It's just like, how often is that going to happen, you know? Top 8 shows that flexibility, I suppose, but like Blue Eyes is like an outlier here, right? Where Blue Eyes is doing half as well, basically, at making top 4 than it is at making top 8. But like, if I was to just order these by top 8 only, it would suddenly be the 3rd best deck. Are you not playing the game today? Oh, we'll probably play the game at some point, but we got stuff to do, right? Every Tuesday. Every second Tuesday after a new box comes out, we always do a tier list, and we had some leaks today, right? So, small tournament numbers at the Mo. Top 8 is valid, but I think you have outliers that don't kind of fit in. That just kind of proves that the meta isn't just 3-set decks. Yes. I think there's value to both of these. I don't think like one necessarily overshadows the other, but for what we're doing here, I think we are going to focus on top 4. And then use top 8 to influence it afterwards, right? I think that's going to be the plan. So the next thing is then going to be, how do we actually want to place these? Because I, personally, Blue Eyes is probably... Blue Eyes is like tier 2 or tier 3. It's either like top tier 3 or like towards the bottom of tier 2. I think that's a fair placing. I think going by statistics that we've got so far as well, we still have to say that Seven's Axel Road is better than Blue Eyes as well. Which I think some people might find that really weird. But like the raw data is telling us that, right? Now, one big takeaway is a lot of people have dropped SAR already. So like it did well, right? It won a tournament, it got 2nd and 3rd, or 3rd and 4th. And then like it suddenly started like declining in play. So that could just mean that SAR was performing a lot better originally, but now is starting to decline a little bit. Okay, I was just asking because I'm only going to be here for 4 more mins and get some rest. What are you doing? We're making a tier list. That's what we're currently doing. We'll probably move this out of the way as well. Make my life a little bit easier. SCR is a bit worse than Psychics, while kind of playing the same. Yes, I think SAR is like a decent deck. I think it's doing okay. I do think, though, that it is... I feel like it has a less... I feel like the deck does less than Psychic in almost every way. Right? I feel like its high end is worse than Psychic, and its low end is worse than Psychic. It's a very weird kind of deck. The one kind of benefit this deck gets is that it has a lot of 1 tribute monsters. So, like, you can kind of fix your hand a little bit easier. But then you could say that Psychic only play 4 boss monsters anyway, so... Brick Eye's bottom of tier 2. It's only really valid because it has a good matchup into Psychics. If Psychics weren't around, they'd be tier 3. I don't know if that's strictly speaking true. I also think Blue Eyes actually has a really good matchup into Machine. We did talk about this a little bit earlier, but Machines can get very resource-starved, and the Monarchs, the Wilhells, really like to punish that. So I do think this actually has quite a good matchup into specifically Machines. I do think it's going to have a bit of a weaker matchup into something like Cybers. I also think in the same way that it has a good matchup into Psychics, it's also going to have a good matchup into SAR and Isarc as well, because those are all 3 very similar decks. Later, I off now. All right, see you later, Dragson. Thanks for stopping by. SAR just had 1 card, so people wanted to try it with more of the newer cards. Yeah, but it was still performing well, right? Like, even if people were just, like, quote-unquote trying it out, it won, right? So you can't just, like, knock it off because of that. Also, can we add all Rogue decks this time? Right, so it depends. So Rogue is a bit of a funny term. Rogue generally is supposed to mean it's a deck that does really well against, like, one specific thing or, like, one specific type of deck, but then not too good anywhere else. Like, it's not a tiered deck, but it's a Rogue deck. You can still take it to tournament. You can still do quite well because it has a, like, very specific matchup, rather than what a lot of people use it for, which is just, like, decks that are okay but not completely shit. Also, it has more trouble beating set 3. So this is Monarch Blue Eyes White Dragon. Yeah, this is Monarch Blue Eyes White Dragon. And that's because regular Blue Eyes White Dragon is doing nothing and has never really done anything. Regular Blue Eyes White Dragon is basically a meme. This is the Monarch version because it's the only version that's done anything so far. Can you put the YouTube name in chat, please? Can you put the YouTube name in the chat? What do you mean, Void? The YouTube name. You have to be more specific than that. I'm not knocking it off. I think SAR is one of the better decks. I'm just saying it's seeing less play because it had less newer cards and people want to try out more stuff. Ah, I see. I agree with you wholeheartedly then in that case. So, we got this guy. He's here, right? He's one of these. I think Overlord is still doing okay. What's the name of the YouTube? Do you mean like the song we're playing, or do you mean like my YouTube channel? How is Overlord performing at the moment? He's down here. He's not doing great. Based on these results, we're probably going to drop him down to here. We'll just see how it goes. Your channel. So we can do !YT in the chat, and that should immediately bring up our YouTube channel. So there's a link to it right there. So, what is the next thing we're going to take a look at? I guess Noodles is also going to be, like, down here. Like, I don't think Noodles is, like, garbage. Like, it's doing okay. Like, Parko had a good run with it, but, like... Is it fantastic? So, I think everyone's going to agree with this. Mirror Innovator, Tier 1, still fantastic. It's having a few struggles at the moment, but it's still doing really, really good. So, Tier 4 is garbage. So, Tier 4 is supposed to be... decks that can still top, decks that can still win a tournament, just very, very unlikely to, right? That's kind of what Tier 4 is for. So we originally introduced Tier 4 because we got into this situation where we were like, these 3 are clearly weaker than these 4, right? And we didn't want to just have like massive tiers full of like stuff. So Noodles. But Noodles has been performing is the only thing. Like, Noodles was a Tier 3 deck before. And I feel like Noodles is still a tier 3 deck now. Like, I think there's stuff that's worse than Noodles. There you go, there's Noodles. Like, Noodles did make top 8, right? They have done okay. The deck has been doing reasonably well. Like, if we go back to Heavy Strike Excavator, once again, we can see Noodles. Again, just solid, doing fine, middle of the pack, nothing crazy. This is the weird one. Because, statistically, if we go and take a look at our data, Cyberse has been slipping. Right? But it's still, like, doing okay. It's still Cyberse. It feels weird to drop it down from tier 1. So, like, it's a weird one. I don't know. Do we do this? This might be bold. This might be a bold take. But Cyberse might be top of tier 2. It could be. Just sub to the YouTube. Thank you for the subscription, Void. Always do appreciate it. But yeah, it's a weird one. Probably going to have Worms down here. I do think Worms is probably better than Noodles. Realistically, I don't think Worms is going to be better than Overlord. But I think we probably put it around here. I think this is fine. And then we get to some of the spicy stuff, right? So this is clearly going to be up here somewhere. I think a lot of people really underestimated Aqua. And Aqua really did just kind of burst onto the scene and just really show a lot of people up. Like, it's doing really well. Like, even in the most recent events, we saw... Well, actually, we didn't see anything in the Grand Prix. That is something. We did see Bubble Error here. We see nothing in this Angel Cup either. No, yeah, nothing in Angel Cup either. Maybe Bubble Error is the... So weird one. Maybe Bubble Error is the one that's going to end up dropping down a bit. It's hard to really note, right? They seem to be doing alright in the Quantum Rush tournaments. Cyberse is still tier 1. People just aren't playing it as much. The thing is, Cyberse is seeing a ton of play. Like, I think you could make the argument less of the good players are playing Cyberse. But, like, in Angel Cup, people are playing Cyberse a ton, right? Like, it's still seeing... We're still seeing a lot of people on the deck. Like, we're still seeing 6 to 10 in some of these events. It's just not necessarily, like, winning as much. Hello, Acceleration Gate. And goodbye, Void. Yeah, I would give it the Royal Rebel treatment from the last tier list. Was that just, like, bumping it down a little bit? Like, we think it could be, like, up here, but we're going to bump it down. I don't hate that. I kind of like this being down here. Like, it's still top of tier 2, right? It's still... Like, if we were to do, like, a tier 1.5, I think I'd put Cyberse in there. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now. Like, I still think it's, like, arguably the second best deck in the game. I think Vulcan probably dropped down to tier 4 at this point. Like, barely seeing any play at all. It's still fine, but it's kind of whatever. This is the weird one for me. Because I still think Icearc is a really strong deck. And I think Icearc, Psychic, and Seven's Axel Road are all actually very similar. They all kind of do the same thing. They all want to swarm the board with huge guys. They want to beat the crap out of your opponent. And they want to try and end the game in a very, like, quick fashion. And they all kind of follow the same game plan. The question is, what is the best of these decks? I personally think Psychic reigns supreme as the best of these 3 decks. The next question becomes, who is the best out of these 2? Because if we're going statistically, it's this motherfucker, right? It's the Seven's Axel Road. If we go and take a look at the prior format, we can see that Icearc was performing a bit better than Seven's Axel Road, but not by an outstanding amount. Basically, they were tied. So, like, the decks are very similar in power level anyway. I think it might have a decent matchup against Psychics. I mean, that is definitely a possibility. Icearc takes a while to set up boards. I'd say bottom of tier 2 or top of tier 3. I think Icearc is better than Blue Eyes, personally. I think this deck is almost like a road deck. Not because it's like a bad deck, just because it has some really, really good matchups, and then it has some kind of wonky matchups. I mean, the thing is, we're saying like the Ice Arc takes time to set up. Like, that's not strictly speaking false, but like 7's Axel Road kind of does the same thing, right? You can't use the skill until turn 4. You have to find a 1600. If you want to use Sorcery, you have to make sure your graveyard's already set up with 7's Road Magician and 7's Road Witch. So I would argue both of these decks are kind of similar in that regard. And then when it comes to like beating set 3 pass, this deck needs to find Torna, this deck needs to find Piercing Samurai. Like, they're very, very similar in a lot of ways. I think it doesn't really matter where we put them right now. I think no matter what, I'm having them right next to each other. Blue Eyes is better than Zark. SR better than Blue Eyes. I'm not sure I agree with that personally. I mean, saying that, realistically, these 3 decks are all very close to each other anyway. I would even make an argument these 4 decks are all very close to each other. I think whether or not we bump one up or bump one down isn't realistically going to affect things too much overall. There is Buster Blader who invalidates BE. I mean, Buster Blader is definitely a fantastic tool, but let's not pretend it's like infallible, right? Like, TSA exists. You can just pop it with the Blue Eyes Bright Dragon. You can use Burst Stream of Destruction to get rid of it. Talismanic, not Talismanic, we've already talked Talismanic. Tribute to the Doomed exists. So, like, there is obviously a very, very strong tech card in here that does work very well against the, not doing that, Jesus. That does work very well against the Blue Eyes deck, but, like, it's not infallible, right? None of these decks are. I think realistically, these 4 decks are all very, very close. I think you could quite happily just move them around in any way you want, and you would still be like, yeah, that's kind of it, right? Like, they're in the same tier. Being in the same tier does mean you're going to be very similar power level. I just think, for me, I probably want to leave it like this. In Ice Arc, it comes back, though. I would keep them in the same tier. I mean, yeah, I'm not dropping a tier either way. The maximum I would do is this. This is the absolute most I would demote Ice Arc. I think Ice Arc is still a really strong tier 2 deck. Ice Arc is still a, like, it can still win tournaments, right? Just because it hasn't yet, I don't think means it's not going to, right? I still think it could win, like, going forward. It's still a good deck. It's a little bit annoying to play sometimes, and it can get a little bit brooky, but so can this. So can this, right? Ironically, this deck also seems to brick a lot as well, so it's like... it's a weird one. It's definitely a weird one. And we got Royal Rebels. I think this is going here for me. Tier 2. Top of Tier 2. Royal Rebels are still a fantastic deck. Royal Rebels gets a extra little buff as well, because it's still so good against, like, all of this. I think you could make an argument that Royal Rebels is less good against, like, these decks, because these decks can just play defensive and just sit on defense mode until their opponent goes aggressive and then try and punish them going aggressive. We're not talking deck versus deck, we're talking deck versus the other decks. Blue Eyes has more favorable matchups than Ice Arc. Both can brick, but Blue Eyes has ways to unbrick and has more tools to get life points and make a crazy board from turn 1. I don't know about turn 1. Like, it can definitely do some stuff if you just high roll, but Zark can only do that on turn 2 if they high roll Essel, because the bird requires too much sometimes to use the effect. Zark is a good deck, but it's got less positives versus Blue Eyes. So, nothing you've said there, like, is wrong, right? I'm going to start by saying that, right? I will say, I do think you're being a little bit harsh, and I think you are giving a bit too much credit to Blue Eyes and not giving quite as much to Ice Arc. Ice Arc does have quite a few good favourable matchups, which is why, again, if we just go back to the data, back when Ice Arc was actually seeing a lot of play, it was performing very, very well, right? Like, this was one of the best decks in the game, right? Now, again, to be fair, Ice Arc didn't really get any new tools, therefore it will probably have slipped down a little bit. But I still think the deck is, like, strong, right? I still think it's doing well. It has several matchups where it does do very well. I think also a lot of the time, this deck's high end can feel better than 7's Exile Road. The problem that you're basically going to find is which one of these decks is going to have more favorable matchups, and I think that's what we're really talking about here, right? Another tier list. Are we becoming a tier list tuber? So we always, Zaki, 2 weeks after the 2 weeks after a new product comes out, we always do a tier list, and this is our second week. So again, in my opinion, these 4 decks are all so close, it doesn't really make much difference. Blue Eyes, I think, though, the other problem is, I do understand that my own personal bias is going to come into this. Again, I don't think it makes much of a difference. I'm quite happy to do this. I think this is fine. I don't think it overall affects anything. Like, again, I think you can move these 4 around in any way and they'd all pretty much be correct. I guess this is a good spot for Mirror Geas, actually. Mirror Geas is exactly what a rogue deck is, right? The Gear Strike deck is, like, really good against specific decks and very specific decks, and really mid against everything else. That is the pure definition of a rogue deck. So I think that seems perfect for it. We're probably not going to worry about him too much. I think Resonance is probably here-ish. Again, the deck, like, is okay. Maybe it's Rogue, to be honest. Maybe Resonance is, like, really good into some things, but really mid against others. I think that's probably fine. And then we have the funky one. So where on earth are we going to put Psychic? It's so weird. You think tier 1? So there's 2 spots for this, right? It's here, or it's like here, right? It's kind of one of these. It's up in here either way. Now, again, if we go purely off the stats, it's tier 1, right? In top 4, it has double the points of anyone else. In top 8, it has almost triple. It has won twice as many tournaments as any other deck in the format. The deck is doing very well right now. Alright, let's see what people are saying in the chat. Psychic's tier 1, top of tier 2. SAR, Blue Eyes, Zark are all the same, yes, but for the sake of having to put them in an order, we have to nick a little. And I feel Zark comes out the loser in a vacuum. Blue Eyes may even beat out SAR sometimes, but SAR can be more explosive and less bricky / more consistent. In my opinion, these 3 decks have the exact same weakness, which is they are all bricky messes. Like, all of them have to use high-level monsters, and like 7 of them, which is too many. Tier 1, I've heard this is the tier 0. I don't know about that. Top of tier 2, Melody High Roll is def tier 1, but when it doesn't, it's like tier 2. That Gale Fang has hit the nail on the head. This deck, when it high rolls, I'm not gonna lie, is here. This deck, when everything goes well, is the best deck in the game. It is undeniably. I think anyone that is coping on saying that Psychic is bad when they draw the God Hand is coping so hard. Like, this deck is so unbelievably powerful. The problem is, we don't always get the God Hand. In fact, quite often, we don't get the God Hand. And then the deck feels like it should be down here. So, like, it's extremely volatile. And that's where it gets weird. Because how do we place a volatile deck? A deck that can do so good, but also can utterly shit the bed and do literally nothing. I've played this deck and popped off, killed my opponent through like set 6 and not given a shit. And it's just like, yeah, of course it was that easy. At the same time, it also can just have nothing. You can just open 2 boss monsters and not play the game. So like, it's so weird. It's so weird. Psychic's that high. I haven't seen the deck in so long. I mean, we can just take a look at the numbers, right? Like, in Grand Prix, Psychic were 2 top 4 spots and a top 8 spot. In Quantum Rush, 2 top 4 spots and a top 8 spot. In Angel Cup, it won, as well as getting 2 top 4 spots and 2 top 8 spots. Like, the deck is everywhere. Like, it's so good. It's so good. Psychic Bricks can't be ignored, even with the deck possibly seeming the most consistent on paper. I think that's the other thing, yeah. On paper, the deck seems insane, but then when you play it, it's like sometimes you just draw nothing, and it just feels so bad. Is that JD Scrub in the chat? Ooh. So it's a top tier in Hans's hands. I mean, basically. What is considered the God Hand? So a good example, I wish I'd saved the replay, but like I played against Sora Mia, who everyone should know who Sora Mia is. And they to be fair, they went first, got to set their like whole hand, then it passed over to me. I had no play, so it was like set 4 pass. Then on their turn, they were able to, again, with access to like 9 to 10 cards, they were able to basically get rid of my entire board, get rid of my back row, get rid of 2 of my monsters by activating Can Melody twice, summon out a board of 3 boss monsters, and just murder me. And that was on like turn 3. And that to me is the epitome of like, no deck can stop that. Like it's just gonna happen, and it's absolutely insane. I think when it does high roll, it is unbelievably powerful. Rogue. So Rogue, I don't think suits this deck because, and I'll go into a little bit, even though I'm pretty sure that was a bit of a jokey answer. Rogue is like matchup dependent. Psychic doesn't really care what it plays against. I know Manicus has been saying that he's been struggling with Blue Eyes. I personally don't think I've lost to a Blue Eyes yet playing the Psychics. Oh, that's a lie. I did lose one time in a tournament. But like I haven't struggled with that personally. But like I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm just saying like my experience hasn't reflected that so far. But yeah, I think it's more matchup dependent, and I think some of these decks have like really good matchups against a couple of decks, but then really mid into a lot of the others. I'm Psychic Copa is definitely not tier 0. I mean, I don't think anyone's calling it tier 0, but we are arguing for tier 1. Tier 2, because of the fact it relies on few pieces to get going. If you don't see enough, you can't do enough. Dwan asked Iceark, not Psychic. Oh, Iceark. Right. It's just because we were in the middle of that that rant. Iceark is still fine. I don't really see what's wrong with Iceark. We got all the Iceark haters in the chat. Rogue was a joke. Yeah, I assumed it was, but I thought I'd give you a serious answer anyway. And machines feel like the most consistent, high-powered decks still. Alright, machines, I will agree, generally are quite consistent. Their skill does allow them to relatively consistently fix their hands. It also has very easy access to piercing, which means we can get through set 3 pass. We can easily attack over a maximum without too much effort, right? There is a lot of really cool stuff Machine can still do. I will make the argument, though, that machines are generally still resource-starved, and that does put them in a bit of an awkward position sometimes. I think that when Psychics, again, when this deck high rolls, it will absolutely demolish Machine. How often will it do that? But, it's hard to say. The deck should be relatively consistent, but sometimes it's just not. I struggle sometimes against max decks when playing Psychic. That is true as well. Psychics can struggle to beat maximums. Basically, a lot of players that have been performing very well on Psychic have just kind of gone with a pretend the maximum doesn't exist strategy, and it's worked out okay for them, but I struggle because Monarchs keep popping my spells set, and then I have to use my Jamp Up or Prima just to clear a Blue Eyes when I should be using those to go for game. It's a rough matchup. I mean, that's completely fair enough. I played against this deck quite a bit during the little point battle we did. That was my most recent experience, and I just dominated Blue Eyes every single game I played against it. So I felt fine in that matchup, but like I said, I did also lose to this deck in a tournament. When did I lose to this deck? What was I even playing in? I remember I did lose in a tournament to it. It was like a massive high roll. I cannot remember exactly what happened there. Like Clear Maximum. Tomato just trying to give a solid, well-thought answer for things, and chat be trolling him just like me, for real, for real. You know, you invite it by being a streamer, right? That's just how it goes. So can be Ice Arc. Since the Ice Arc board soaks up so much of the decks that has a strong, easy return strike. Yeah, I would say Ice Arc does that better than Seven's Room, because you just make a bigger board, right? Typically, this deck will end on like a 20, 21, a 16, and like a 15. This deck tends to end on like a 25, 25, 2k. So like from that standpoint, I would say yeah. Machines usually play Shield and Sword, so if you play Psychic, you just kind of have to finish them quickly, I feel. Yes. I think that does also make a lot of sense, because both of these decks also do kind of need all their resources. Machines need all of their resources because they don't have a lot of them. They don't have a lot of ways to plus. They get like a way to have a cheaper guy with Bicorn, and that's kind of it. Psychic have so many moving pieces that when you lose some of them, it can really hurt. So like if you keep getting your back row pop, like Manicus was saying earlier, or if you lose all 3 of your monsters every turn, it can become a little bit problematic. You can still make plays, but if you have access to more than 5 cards as Psychic, generally you're in a much stronger position to be able to just kill your opponent. So like, if you play Terrario and Psychic, you can clear every level 8 and lower monster. That is very true. Unfortunately, that doesn't help with Maximum still, which was what we were talking about earlier. Thunder. Thunder's probably down here. I think Thunder's probably here for now. It could quite easily rise back up. I don't know which one of these two decks is better. I think they're both fine. As the meta goes on and people get bored, these decks will probably come back and start topping, and they'll probably just make top 8 and go no further, because that's the kind of decks these are. If they get very lucky or have a very good day, they still could win a tournament, but you know. Is that it? Have I missed a deck? Is there a deck missing from this list? Obviously, we still got some of this stuff we haven't talked about yet. Harpies is also probably in Rogue. I think Harpies doesn't realistically have very many good matchups, if any. Does Harpies... Right, chat. Real talk. What decks does Harpies like hard counter? Are there any that Harpies... Like, you just play Harpies and the match is like a 90% win rate? Is there like any matchups at all that we feel like Harpies get to absolutely dominate? Because off the top of my head, I can't think of any. A lot more boards are ending on smaller monsters, usually 1400/1500 on board. So having one monster that gets really big, like SAR or Psychics, that can finish a game in one attack, might be more beneficial than building a board of 25s like Zark, which may be able to clear a board but not push for game. So what are we talking about here? Because like the SRM deck can go up to 39, right? It can do that. That is just a fact. It can get up to 39. How often does it get to 39? Also, not actually super often. Usually this deck gets to about 33 and then kind of sits there. Now, it can get higher than that. Definitely can. But it's not like a crazy high. Whereas Ice Arc gets to 3k all the time. Like, it doesn't have to even try. It's just going to get to that 3k. And then the other monsters that you're going to get out can be 25s or even 26 in the case of Buster Blader, as well as the fact that you can also throw in a Piercing Samurai, which doesn't have to remain on the end board. You can summon out the Piercing Samurai and then tribute over it, after you've given a piercing effect to one of your big monsters anyway. So I would even make the argument that Ice Arc can actually be more consistent at get damage in through a board than Seven's Rogue Magician can. Like, again, there is a lot of ifs, buts, when this happens, but I would make the argument, I think Ice Arc actually does have a better go at getting damage in through cards than Seven's Rogue Magician will, or than the SAR deck will. And then, again, on the crackback, is better suited to take the counter attack. I will say, though, this deck does play more double tribute monsters. Double tribute monsters are a lot more annoying to get out of your hand than single tribute monsters. And that's where I think Iceark falls a bit flat, because if you do open multiple double tribute monsters, you're in a really, really shit position. Whereas if you open like 2 level 6 monsters, it sucks. It's still not great. You don't want that, but you're going to be fine, right? Rebels Trust, Cyber Dragons. Wait, what's the Cyber Dragons comment from? Are we talking about like what Harpies are good at? But Zark has piercing or direct attacks. Again, I will say as well, the direct attacks from Iceark don't come out that often. They still do happen. It is still something the deck can do. In my experience from spectating and playing the deck, it's very few and far between you actually do get those direct attacks in. But those piercing attacks, that's like every game. Like every game you're using Piercing Samurai, every game you're going to be punishing with that. I know this stuff is off topic, but is SAR just always the forever tier 2 deck that has been consistently in the format? SAR has dropped down from tier 2 a couple of times, but it just keeps bouncing back. It just keeps doing well. If the deck keeps winning, we're just going to keep putting it back up, right? That's just how it's going to be. I should try out Iceark finally. So the big, again, we already spoke about it a little bit. The big issue with Iceark is always going to be it has so many double tribute monsters. You could play 10 games with this deck, and like 3 of them, you'll just open like double tribute monster, and that feels so bad. But if you do not get one of those opening hands that's really bad, all you have to do is get out 1 double tribute monster, and then you dump all of the excess into the graveyard. At which point, they're not in the deck anymore. They're effectively garnets that you don't want to see in your open. But you're no longer able to draw into them, because as soon as you put them back in your deck, you'll be sending them straight back to the graveyard again. So it's like you're only playing 5 boss monsters once you've gotten through that first turn. So, like, it still can be a bricky mess in the same way that these decks can also kind of be a bricky mess, but it feels more punishing when you get it on turn 1. That's how I look at it anyway. Can we get a garbage tier for Bestacross? How dare you? My poor Bestacross. He doesn't deserve garbage tier. He can come up here with the psychics. But real talk, though, I don't actually know what we're doing with this. I have no idea if we're going to leave this in tier 1. I think a lot of people have put Psychic in tier 1. My biggest issue with Psychic being tier 1 is, again, the deck can just brick and do nothing. And when it does, it feels like ass. But to be fair, so can machines. Machines can brick. Machines without Innovator does feel like crap. So, like, it's hard. It's hard. Tier 1 is what the stats are saying at the moment. That is very true. That is very true. No matter how many people, like, do brick with this deck, enough people are playing it and performing well that it has been performing very, very well. So, top of tier 2 would be fine, right? I mean, realistically, like, the difference between tier 1 and tier 2 isn't supposed to be, like, astronomical. It's not like, you know, let's say this was down here. This doesn't mean, machines just destroy every single one of these decks. It's not like, I'm on such a different level to the rest of you. You're all peasants. Like, I am, like, realistically, the difference between tiers 1 and 2, or even tiers 2 and 3, aren't that big. Right? It's not, you could probably just do this, and, like, nothing much would actually probably change that much, realistically. Like, the gap is not that big. Do you think Dark Magicians have potential? I want Dark Magician to be good. I want it to be good. I think Limit 1 on the 1,000 Knives really hurts the deck. I think if it was Limit 3, it would have been fine. Because at Limit 3, you then still wouldn't be able to try and do some, like, gimmick shit, right? Like, you wouldn't, like, try a weird other deck with just Dark Magicians slapped into it. Or like an aggro deck, right? Speaking of aggro, where is he? He's down here. It's probably here-ish somewhere. Yeah, I want Dark Magician to be good. I haven't tested it yet, and I haven't really seen anyone test it yet. I do think Dark Magic Curtain still kind of sucks, but have it tier 1 so people don't cope only machines are tier 1. Also, I guess it bricks way less than it goes off. You know, I think with that, we've got everyone's agreement now. I think everyone now agrees this is a tier 1 deck. We've somehow managed to get everyone on the same page in chat. That as well. Also, it has a lot of consistency tools. Yeah, the consistency tools in this deck are actually insane, right? If you see Candy, you are in such a good position, right? Candy gets you either a spell to use for later, or it gets you a boss monster, and that boss monster is absolutely incredible as well. It's your like main OTK tool. As well as if you have Melody, you can then tribute over it. Well, you can then summon out your Melody, send the Candy back to hand to get rid of one of your opponent's face downs, and then also get another Candy back from the graveyard, which is like... Now, again, that little combo does require some setup, but like, that's still so good, right? You basically +2, and then get rid of one of your opponent's cards as well, which is so good. With Roman pick, Candy, and start, probably high tier 3. I do... What are we talking about high tier 3? Out of curiosity. Are we talking about, is that Dark Magician, or is this talking about the Psychics that we're talking about now? Do Dark Magician Girl have any cards that stack to the top of the deck / change the order of the top of the deck? Also, any fusions? I don't believe so. I don't think they get any fusions ever, actually, now that we talk about this. I'm pretty sure all the Dark Magician cards we get, none of them stack, and none of them fuse. So in the future, we'll get Dark Executor Warlock. This card's a little bit awkward in Duel Links because you need to have 10 spell cards in the graveyard to get its extra effect. So it's just basically a guy that becomes Dark Magician, which is still nice, right? Being able to turn on Thousand Knives and Dark Magic Attack's good. Mature Dark Magician is good. It lets you special summon Dark Magician from your graveyard, as well as acts as a Mystic Dealer. Dark Resonance Burst is fine. And then Jewel of the Dark Magician is actually fantastic. So special summon a Dark Attribute Spellcast that monster with 2500 attack, and or a Dark Attribute Spellcast that monster with 2000 attack from your graveyard to your field, which is really good. It's basically Warlock without having to send 3 monsters to the graveyard, which is just really cool. What about the Flute for DM? You want to have a look at Flute? We can go and have a look at Flute. Here he is, Archfiend summoning Flute. If we have no other monsters on our field, and we have 3 or more normal monsters in our graveyard, which already is quite a tall ask, because now we have to play a lot of normal monsters. Send this card from your field to the graveyard, then special summon a normal monster from your graveyard to your field in face-up defense. Now, obviously being defense means that even if we do get to use Dark Magic Attack and Thousand Knives, we're probably not OTKing, because we have a Dark Magician in defense mode. It's awkward. So Curtain will never really get any better than it is now, unless there is some stacking card we don't have. So there are stacking cards in Rush. I don't think you would play them in Dark Magician, because having to play multiple 2-card combos just to try and maybe see a reward from it kind of sucks. Like, in fact, we can, how do we want to do this? If we open this up, I can show an example. How do we want to do this? We don't want that. We don't care about that. Where are you? Oh, where is this? Where is this window? Not that one. Not that one. How have I done this in such a weird way? That's the... Yeah, that's not going to change it. How have I done this in OBS? What have I done? Oh, is it in here? It is. It's attached to my camera for some reason. Okay. So if we add a new window capture. There we go. That's easier. Right. So if I grab this open, you can just cover my face for now. It's not a huge deal. We're going to take a look at one of the older Dark Magician decks. I can actually show you like what a competitive Dark Magician deck actually looked like in the modern game. Would have been not Shadow Flower, Dice Jinzo, DM. Here we go. So this is like semi-competitive. We just come over it. Hello everyone, I'm behind this. But yeah, this is like semi-competitive. This isn't like the most competitive way to play this deck, but the card that broke this deck and made it really good is this one. This is Obsidian Magical Sorcerer. So if I, once again. So first off, actually before I get rid of this image so you can actually see it, you probably notice there's quite a lot of spell cards in this deck, and that's because to make this deck work, we need a lot of spell cards, right? So now, we get rid of that. Obsidian Magical Sorcerer. So this card gains attack equal to the number of spell cards in your graveyard times 100. Also, if you have 5 or more spell cards in your graveyard, it gains an additional 500 attack. That means, as soon as we hit 5 cards in graveyard, this guy's 3,500 attack, right? So, it's really good. And you might be thinking, oh, you know, it's just a load of attack. That's not interesting. It's really good when we get to just send our entire deck to the graveyard in one turn, and then this guy's got like 5,000 attack. That's when this gets like ridiculous, right? OBS things, Windows are goot. All right, so basically the whole point of this like Dark Magician deck, quote unquote, is to just beef Obsidian Magical Sorcerer up. And it's like, well, how do we do that? Well, the main way that we actually do that is a no limit 1 card, Cactuar's Choice, which is actually a really, really strong card. If your opponent is a monster on the field, send the top 3 cards of the deck to the graveyard. Then if you have 3 or less monsters in your graveyard, guess what? We play a very small amount of monsters in this deck. We can add 1 card from our graveyard to our hand. And guess what we add with this? We add Cactuar's Choice. So we get 2 Cactuar's Choice in rotation. We keep monsters out of our graveyard as best we can using the different tools that we have. And then we just mill our entire deck. And it's so good. It was so powerful, which is why this card and Obsidian Magical Soldier both got limited 1. Like, it's so ridiculously good. And this is like the only time Dark Magician's ever been like competitive. So I think realistically, if we want to see this deck do much, like, also I will say as well, Dark Executor Warlock was not in the good build of this deck. We put this in here because we wanted to be funny. So let's just say Dark Magician is always going to be a bit of a struggle spot. But yeah, I don't know where we put anything else. Is this where we just leave the tier list? It's not very aesthetically pleasing, but our tier lists very rarely are. I don't think there's like much more we do to this, realistically. I'm quite happy with this tier 1. I'm actually quite happy with this being down in tier 2 at the moment. Red Eyes Monarch is something I can't speak to because I haven't played it, and I've never played against it, and I've never seen it in a tournament. So in the same way, I don't really have anything to say about Dark Magician. I don't really have anything to say about Red Eyes Monarch right now. It's not that I necessarily like dislike the deck or I think it's bad. I literally, the information I have is Whistling Bird said it's good. Like, I don't know if that's enough to make it onto the tier list. Also, Volcano Attack is Rogue like Resonance. Maybe. Maybe. The main difference, I suppose, is Resonance. Although it's not much, right? It's very weak evidence. Resonance did actually make top 8 in a tournament during this meta. So that's why I've even given it the benefit of doubt with putting it in Rogue instead of just not on the list at all. No, it's not, sadly not to put on the tier list. How is it doing back here? So Blaster's Inferno was also not doing too good last format either. Volcano feels like better Harpies? Better Harpies? So, I'm curious now, Manicus. You've piqued my interest. Why do we think Volcano is better Harpies? Because in my mind, Harpies gets to flip your defense monsters face up. It has access to, like, a bunch of weird trap cards and has this, like, maximum to fall back on if, like, worst case scenario happens. You think you will play Gravity Plus? Metageus is down here. He's hanging out. Metageus, I feel like, is basically in the same boat as Mirageus, right? They're both kind of the same deck. Obviously, Full Metal Fist is like a different skill, but I think it basically plays in a very similar way to Gear Strike anyway. And some people have even just been playing Metageus in Full Metal Fist. Because it has Dragius and back row removal. It can use and search twice, so deck thin. I mean, it has one copy of Dragius. Back row removal, yes. I guess you could make the argument that it's then just kind of very similar to this. But, like, Harpies don't even really have back row removal. Also, it doesn't have multi-attack outside of the maximum. And also doesn't really deck thin. Skill makes it surprisingly different. I would put Ice Arc tier 3, and it would look good, in my opinion. See, I don't... It's one of those things where, in my opinion, I could do this and nothing really changes, right? I think this is fine. Like, these are obviously worse than these up here. That's how this works, right? Left is good, right is slightly worse. That's just how this goes. I think this would be fine. My major criticism is that I think if I do this, people are now suddenly going to be like, now, all right, Ice Arc is bad because it's not in tier 2. Whereas I don't think that's true. It has 5 spell traps. What, we talk about Harpies or are we talking about Volcano? That's the problem with Twitch as well, obviously. There's going to be a little bit of a delay, so trying to keep up to date with these conversations where we're crossing over to all these different things gets a bit much. It's like Buster Blader as well. Has basically not done anything recently, so I think we're probably happy to leave him off the list, even though it was actually quite a good performing deck when it was seeing play in tournaments. Volcano with 5. I think, for me, I actually don't even think I put Harpies on this list. Like, because we asked the question earlier, what does, like, Harpies beat? I don't think Harpies actually beats much. I think there is maybe an argument that these two decks are very similar. But I don't know if I rate it as, like, an actual rogue deck. Can you show what was left off? These guys. These are the only other things we've got on here at the moment. Can you show us what is left out of the list? I assume this is all we're talking about. It's just this stuff. Again, we took off... Well, this used to be a lot bigger. We used to have a lot more chaff on here. But they weren't... They just kept consistently not getting onto the tier list, so we took them off. Except Ridacross. Ridacross has to stay. Ridacross is Bay. Okay, I got to locals. I got to the locals. Have a good day. Have a good time at locals, Saka. No Volt Condor or Nightwing. Again, they're decks that haven't done anything, right? That I haven't seen them in a tournament. I haven't really played against them. I played a bit of Night Vision myself, and I thought it was kind of bad. Like, I haven't seen them do anything yet, so that's just why they're not on it. Harpies can't play good back row removal or any limit 3s. Harpies is a solid deck, but it's still too safe. Its flipping a set monster will never come up, as most boards now end with something in attack. Yeah, that's basically my opinion of it as well. Ridacross is a reminder of Konami's structure deck sins. Well, we got the Cyber Dragon come out soon, right? That'll win favor back. Again, I just want to preface as well, just because a deck hasn't made the tier list. I am quite comfortably taking this off. Just because the deck isn't on the tier list, or it's further down, doesn't mean it's a bad deck, right? I'm not trying to say anything not on this list is just straight up garbage. What I'm saying is we don't have a high potential section. We don't have a, this deck could be really good, but we haven't really done anything with it yet. So as is, this is kind of how it's going. Realistically, Harpies I don't think is doing much at the moment. Hasn't proven to me that it's going to do anything. I haven't seen it in a tournament in God knows how long. I don't think it's very good. Same with Volcano Attack. Again, if this suddenly starts doing well, like if it top 8s at an event, if I even see it in an event, it'll probably make the tier list, but I just haven't seen it do anything. It's the same reason, like, I still think that Ancient Arise is actually not too bad, right? I think the Ancient Forces deck has definitely dropped, but it probably could be, like, down here somewhere. But, again, it's just not seeing any play, so it's just not out. I have to get Sora to get Dragon Knight into top 8. I mean, definitely can do. Definitely can do. But yeah, we'll have to just wait and see where this goes. See, I'm really, really tempted to drop this to tier 3, and not even because I think it deserves to be in tier 3, because I think the tier list looks nicer like that. And that is the most asinine reason to want to bump it down that I could possibly come up with. But like, look how nice it looks now. Look at how nice this tier list looks with that there. Look at that lovely slant we got going on. Ah, that looks ugly. Looks so ugly. Then it would be on the tier list. I mean, exactly. If it tops, it gets to be on the tier list. That's how Resonance is on here because it topped. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't be in Rogue. Arise cannot pop Mellow or Mirror. Yeah, but it can still become a 3000 attack guy that can pop other things, right? You don't have to pop the really important boss. You can just attack over it and pop something else. You could also pump up Cyburst. I don't like that. I think that looks ugly. We'll just slowly make it a face with a big nose. Also, I think we need to punish Cyburst for its sins. He's been in tier 1 for too long. He can be down in tier 2 for a bit. And Royal Rebel. Just want everything in tier 1. See, Royal Rebel is, I mean, again, we spoke about this last time. I think this is a tier 1 deck, but the results do not agree with me. The results keep saying it's kind of mid. And we have to be beholden to the results. If no one's playing the deck and they're not doing so well with it, it has to stay down here. Hello, Froggy, by the way. Kind of missed your message there. Do you think Noodle still better than Aggro or Thunder? Alright, personal bias, right? I really liked Noodle when it was at full power, right? That's when I like Noodle. I am not the biggest fan of the current Noodle build. That being said, it has been doing okay, right? It did make it to a top 8 finish. And even in its nerfed state, it still did fine. It wasn't crazy. It was very middle of the pack. It was fine. It's still, at the time when aggro was seeing play, even if, again, it wasn't a ton of play, it was outperforming aggro, right? It was underperforming against Thunder, to be fair, which is why on the old tier list, which if we go back over here, we could see we did actually have it lower than Thunder. The reason we've bumped it up a bit is because, again, Noodles has seen play. We haven't seen Thunder or aggro do anything yet. So again, just going by, like, the stats, we've dropped everything down a tier that hasn't done anything yet. That's basically how we've just gone. Don't worry about it, mate. That is legit how DLMTPC makes decisions for speed duels. Fuck rational reasonings, am I right? Sometimes it feels like that. Do we do it based on looks when what's the point of reasoning when the deck should just be... we can just go, that looks nice. Exactly, Promenicus. If it looks nice, what does anything else matter? People have criticized my tier list before because they've been, like, not following, like, a bell curve, or they haven't been, like it's been too top heavy or too bottom heavy. And I'm just always there, like, I just try to make the tier lists accurate, or as accurate as I think they can be. No matter what, I think it's very rare that any two people's tier lists are going to intersect and intertwine and be identical. I think no matter what, people are always going to have their own opinion of this deck should be one higher, this deck should be one lower, that deck's crap, that should come all the way down. I beat this deck a lot, so that should be down, and this one should be up because it's my pet deck, etc, etc. So, like, Royal Rebels I can't. What's wrong with Royal Rebels? Royal Rebels is tier 2, and so is Cyberse. Also, it can pop field spells or shuffle monsters back. I've lost track of where we are with that piece of the conversation. Royal Rebels is Rogue? Bruh, I don't know about that. I just want to say as well, I went undefeated with Royal Rebels in Challenger Cup. Now, again, Challenger Cup is a meme, so don't read too much into that. But I did go undefeated with Royal Rebels. They'll just unlimit Call of the Earthbound next list. Prage, let me have something. Node 1, you're not allowed it. Oh, that's a surprise. You should make an actual tier list and then one as a meme to annoy people and post them both saying one is your legit and one's a meme and not say which is which. That would be very funny. I don't think I'm going to do that just because generally anything that goes on the YouTube is quite serious. Like, we do meme a little bit on there, but like for the most part, the YouTube is a place for like newer players and ladder players to like pick up the game. My piece of conversation was about Ancient Arise. I see. Now I will clip Royal Rebel is Rogue and take it out of context. I mean, you could write anything in the chat, and as long as it isn't like massively offensive, I will probably just read it out so you can pretty much get whatever you want. Put the meme in the thumbnail when you do that. That would be actually kind of funny. We could come up with a meme one just for thumbnail. Like, not even like post them both at the same time, but we could have one, because in the thumbnail, it doesn't matter. We can do whatever the fuck we want in the thumbnail. The actual list itself is always different from the thumbnail anyway. We always do that. We never have the list that's in the thumbnail be the same as the actual list, so people don't get spoiled on it. You're such an evil person. Good old Hans. That's the problem with that is I'd have to go and get the image because he's not in here already. I think I'm happy with this list, though. I don't think we're going to change anything in here. What we will do, though, is go ahead and add to this one. So, if I do this, how's that going to... Okay, you just don't get to see anything. That's fine, then. Alright, let's go and grab Night Vision's picture. Unfortunately, you'll just have to bear with me a sec as I go digging for it. Where are you, Vision? I got this picture out a while ago, actually. What did I do with it? Did I just not... Or is it in this section? No, I just didn't grab it. Oh well. Past Matt was a dum-dum. Where are you, you birdie bastard? You're in here somewhere, I know. There he is. There he is now. He's in the tier list. So we're setting tier 0, 1, 2, 3. We have Night Vision in the top. Make a meme with a clickbait thumbnail and make disgusted face and you'll get some big clicks. Let's talk about something serious. Plants tier 1. I mean, plants are here. I mean, they got support with Draftanin, but still. Is Draftanin plant support? I guess kind of. Ancient Forces? Yeah, we got to have Ancient Forces in the list somewhere. Right, now the question is, do we make a list that is so obvious at first glance a meme? Or do we make it so that, you know, it still looks believable in some way, right? So, for example, we could do this, right? Because people will look at that and be like, oh, of course machines are tier 1. Duh. This list is legit. Wait, what's that doing there, right? Whereas if that's like on its own in tier 1, that's like... Oh, this is clearly just a meme. We need Psychic up here as well. But do we have Psychic under This? That's so funny if we actually leave it like that. Do we like just put Cyburst tier 3 and just see if people notice? Because like, again, going by the stats, Cyburst is like, it's not performing badly, but like, I think there's a justification for like having like a really small tier 2, a tier 1 even, and then going down like that. We're not touching that one. That's our current one. Cyburst Rogue? No, I think that's too far. They're like, the 6 Cyburst players will get angry at me. Gotta make it believable. Noodles and Pigeon tier 2 with Machine and Cyburst. Put Psychic tier 1. That's actually not bad. Royal Rebel tier 3? Tier 3? Just feels mean to Royal Rebels. Oh, tier 3 is just Noodles and Blue Eyes. Where is Blue Eyes? It's down here. We'll put plants down there as well. That could be funny. No, Royal Rebels tier 1. Put 2 noodles, 1 burn, and 1... You want me to go get the noodle image as well? Right, we're getting very demanding now. Where is he? There he is. So we got Royal Rebels in tier 1. Psychology is such a mind. I love it. Only study it, guys. What we need. You haven't missed much. Kim Friend, hello. Wind Witch, my favorite deck. Yeah? I think there's a lot of people that are kind of scared of that, to be honest. Already had Cyber Dragon. Oh yeah, we're actually playing Duel Links as well at some point. Alright, let's go grab... we can go grab Cyber Dragon. I'm pretty sure... Oh, perfect. Look at that. Look at that boy. We'll slide him in somewhere. Cyber Dragon in tier 1? That could be funny. Like that. That could be kind of funny. Is that just it? Is that how we're doing it? Is everyone happy with the meme list? Anyone joining now is going to be so confused. Let's Cyber tier 1. We're back to the stream and the grind, so you know. Put one of the noodles in tier 2. But then tier 2 gets really fat. Look at how fat tier 2 is. You got to remember as well that if this gets too long, like my big ugly face is going to be covering like this part of the screen. So that means some of this stuff won't get seen. Just because of, you know, how thumbnails work. Okay, well I guess that's the meme one then. Anyway, back to the real tier list. How dare you, Tomato? How dare you? Listen, right? You just wanted to have some company down here. I'll tell you what, just for you, we'll also put Volcano in. We'll sandwich Icesuck right between the two boys. Icesuck did nothing wrong. I know this is so good. It's somewhat believable, but it's funny. Could you imagine if someone actually believes that's correct? Yeah, I think we're happy with this as a list. I don't think there's any like massive changes. Like, I mean, right, so there's little things, right? Like some people would bump Icesuck down a bit. Some people might bump Blue Eyes up a bit. Realistically, Psychic could be tier 2 or tier 1. I think there's an argument to be made for Overlord still being a tier 2 deck. All of these three could probably just go up to tier 3 and just get rid of tier 4 altogether. Like, there's a few little bits and bobs, but I don't think anything is, like, major. I think, for the most part, we've got everything where we want it. Were we not in the real one? No, this is the real timeline. Just wait for all the comments of people complaining on the comment section who haven't watched the video. We get that so often, man. I get that all the time. People will respond to the title of the video and then be like, but that's wrong. And then you'll be like, but in the video, like there's a reason there was a question mark in the title, because it was a question. And then in the video it explains why we don't believe that. But you didn't watch the video. Maybe swap Mirror and Psychic Order to annoy people. Nah. I think this is okay as is. And this is the real one, Manicist. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. I think we're quite happy with that. It's going to be really interesting to see what actually happens with the machines. Or more specifically, the Cyber Dragons. It's like... it could be really cool, right? But is this a different Cyber Dragon one? Do we have two different Cyber Dragon shorts? Alright, how loud is this going to be if we put this on? Let's pause this for a second. Let's see what this... I don't remember what this short is. Okay, I'm going to normal summon the ultimate flag... that doesn't sound too loud. Icons. Or summon out Cyber Griffin. Tribute Icon for Cyber Dragon. I think I will. I'm going to use Cyber Griffin effect. I will get rid of Mirror Innovator. And then draw another card. I don't remember where this goes. That's... it's too dangerous. It's too dangerous. We're doing it anyway. We're gonna YOLO. We're just gonna YOLO. Alright, we're gonna summon... oh, yeah. Because I would usually never do this play. He's got it. Because it's 3 back row. What are the chances your opponent has nothing in the back row? Battle. Go. We've done it. I mean, let's be honest. Yeah, you obviously bricked, and Cyber Dragon is a silly deck that can just rip a game out of nowhere, so...
I mean, if I'd have had a turn...
Okay, I'm going to normal... Yeah. You know, Power Bond exists in Rush? Yes! We don't have it yet, not in Duel Links, but, you know. Tomato Rush progression when? So we do have character draft on the old channel, which is kind of like a progression series, but it's kind of not. We also did do a... I don't think we have any shorts about it, but we did do a series, which was... Sevens Draft. Yeah, we did Sevens Draft. And this was like a fun little thing we did. But if I pause this again, if I just chuck this on, we'll go over the rules. Has come to an end. And to send it off, we're going to be playing... Yeah, you can just watch the intro. Using cards all throughout the Sevens era. Each week, myself and the Dr. Alex will open 5 packs of each Sevens core set and add a single card from each pack to our collection. We will then build decks and play a best of 3, with the loser banning 1 card and the winner gaining 7 points. The first player to reach 49 points, or 7 wins, earns the title of Sevens Champion. Welcome to Rush Duel Sevens Draft. So this was kind of a progression series we did. Welcome to the first episode of Sevens Draft, made possible thanks to Alan. Anyway, the point is, we open packs. We have the pack opening simulator. If we mute that, we can just have that going. And then, we just get to open packs. We open 5 of each, like 5 card pack, and we got to take 1 card from each. That was basically the gist of it. So we have already kind of done this, right? There is an angry tomato emote. I mean, yeah, we used to have it on the channel, but we took it off. Do draft, but swap what decks you get this time. What is that? What is that? Oh, you want? Oh, we have done that a few times, to be fair. We have done character draft where we have swap decks. Would you look? It's the Dr. Alex. He's there. That looks funny video. I mean, we basically made a series out of this. We had, 15 episodes. But it was fun because we got to play with, like, limited, right? It's like, yeah, see, just episode 1, we just drafted Yami Tarasu, which is, like, so crazy. Candy Live as well, we drafted that, episode 1. Well, I don't remember if we actually drafted this or not. Oh, I can just whack the speed up. We just try and plow through it. I think we actually take this instead. Yeah, we take the Valkyrie and Sokori instead. There's Jinzo from pack, set 1. There's Mirageus. This brings back memories. This brings back memories. This is back when we had our different camera setup as well. This is so old now. Thunderbolt, absolutely ridiculous card. Is this going to be on the YouTube? What do you mean, is this going to be on the YouTube? This, the VOD will be on YouTube. We have a separate VOD channel that goes to. Look at the young tomato. We haven't changed much, mate. This was only, what, 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago. Let's see, because at the end, we show all the cards we got. So, like, we got Dark Lurker. We've got Full Meteor Impact. Look, we have the Beast Gear Boy himself. We actually got a copy of Fusion. We got some Jamp cards. So we got 2 Jamps start. We were already getting ready for the Psychic Takeover. We really wanted to play Psychic in this, but I don't think we ever quite, like, got to that stage. We took some Dinosaur support cards, some Worm support cards as well. Let's look at this was our day 1 deck that we made. Unfortunately, we can't really get a good look at it. But yeah, this is basically just, like, awful beaters the deck. Some of these boss monsters are actually not bad. Like, this was basically a Thunderbolt deck, where the whole gimmick was just get as many different 7s in the deck as possible, so it works, basically. And we also had the 2 Sensor Duck builds to get back the Thunderbolt to hand, which is also really good. I mean, again, like, Jinzo week 1 is just so good. It's so good. Can you edit out your replies to my chats or mentions of my name outside of the VOD? I mean, I can do. That's a lot of effort. Is there a specific reason you want that done, Void? The other thing is that there will be just a VOD as well that's on Twitch, and that's just going to have all your chat in it anyway. I can't do anything about that one. But with that being said, that's probably enough of the YouTube stuff. I don't want people to know who I am on YouTube. What does that mean, though? Is my point. Like, do people know you as Void4567_19 everywhere else? If this is your alt, bro, I think you're pretty safe. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like, taking out one person's comment / name, that's easily like an hour plus work for me to, like, do. I would rather not do that. That just seems like a massive pain. So Rush, Duel Links progression, going through Duel Links products. I mean, that would be a cool idea. The only issue is you'd have to just farm out all the gems ahead of time, right? And then it's like, well, how many packs do you do? Also, it's not really random because you're always guaranteed to get the exact same cards if you open, like, an entire run through the box. There was a series, which was like a Duel Links progression series from a while ago, that did something similar. And what they did, they had a gem amount. So they said, we can spend this many gems, and then we'll open those packs, right? I want to play more Modern Rush, scratch that rush itch while waiting on Duel Links content. Yeah, I mean, Modern Rush is still very fun. I do very, very much enjoy still playing it. It's just we don't necessarily, like... we don't necessarily play it in like a super competitive way when me and Alex play it. There was a tournament on this weekend, but I was just too busy on the weekend, or last weekend, I suppose I should say. We had a good time doing it, but use accounts that have all the cards, use the DLM opener, and reset the box after each pack. So now, what we're saying is, we've just made a lot of effort for ourselves. Having to reset after each pack, that's just like double the amount of clicks. Then you kind of go through one box worth of boosters when the box is released. I mean, that is an option. I don't think we would do that I think the only reason I would do that would be if another YouTuber approached me with that, right? Like if Hyla or someone was like, yo, you want to do this? I'd probably do that. But like outside of that, I think it's just a lot of effort. For like safety, because people may reach out to me and do weird things, and the thing is as well that the fact I don't want people to know who I am, because there are certain people who I know that if they see me on the VOD, things won't go well IRL. I mean, you're putting me in a bit of an awkward position here, Void. You're basically asking me not to upload a VOD, which I would do anyway, because you're on an account, I guess, that is flagged? It just seems very strange to me. It seems very strange to me. I think realistically, if there was any chance that your safety was in jeopardy, especially considering my VODs get like 1 view, right? So it's not like it's going to pop off. You probably just shouldn't be chatting on this Twitch account, if that's the case. Maybe the Structure Warrior deck is maybe worse than Plants. I don't know. Alright, Best Across. Yeah. Best Across is definitely a vibe. I'll give you that. Probably Best Across. Forget about it, to be honest. I feel Tengu does more than Plants. If you could keep it privated to certain people. I mean, that, again, that's not really how that works. Well, more than anything as well, anytime we do a Twitch record, anytime we do a stream, the VOD is just on Twitch with comments, like, there the entire time. So, like, that's always been a thing. If you type in anyone's Twitch chat ever, that's always going to be there. But I think today, I mean, right, we didn't get to play a lot of Duel Links. Right? That's like the biggest negative here. But like, I think we got through quite a lot. We went over the leaks, which was pretty good. We got to look at the speed stuff, which we got to learn a little bit about Wind Witches, which was neat. We got to look at the Cyber Dragon skill, which was pretty cool. We didn't get to play any Duel Links. Well, it has been 3 hours, unfortunately. We went through all of the Cyber Dragon cards. I still think it's relatively likely that we see Cyber Dragon, Proto, Kotal, Entry, Assault. I don't know if we'll see Search. Maybe we will. Hello, Thunderstorm. Is Thunderstorm Void? Is that what we're going for here? But Tomato, just imagine Duel Links before box release. What? What does that even mean? I don't think we're going to get Processor or Serpent or Griffin. I mean, Manticus seems to believe we're going to get this at 1, maybe? It would follow the trend. Yeah, it's my secret ult. I would recommend, if you don't want people to, like, see you, I would just be on the secret ult 90% of the time if I was you. We have Battle Demotion, which, again, I don't think we're going to get. I don't think we're going to get Primal Fist. I don't think we're going to get Adapter Unit. I don't think we're going to get Cyber Stealth. I don't think we're going to get any of the fusions. And because we're not getting fusions, I don't think we get Power Bomb. That's kind of what I'm looking. And we have our meme list, basically just for the thumbnail, which, I don't know, looks alright. And then we have our actual tier list that I think we're pretty comfortable with. I think we're okay with that. Like to kick off the Progression Rush Duel Links series before the first box was released. What do you mean before the first box was released? Are we talking, like, if we're talking box, that would be, like, there wouldn't be any cards before the first box released, right? We're getting the Spellers one for sure. We'll see, we'll see. We definitely could. Again, we have one copy of Burst Stream. We have one copy of Thousand Knives. What we don't have is one copy of Infernal Fire Blast. I think there might be a good reason we don't have that. Because I think just 2400 burn could be a bit too good. But, with that being said, we're going to end the stream there. Again, we have done our 3 hours. We have just kind of gone over everything we've done. We've had a little stream summary, and we've had a pretty good time doing so. We will be back again on Thursday, where we will be entering the Angel Cup. I don't know what we're going to play yet. We could just play more Psychic. Psychic is really fun, and most recently, basically, if there is a fun deck in the format, we tend to spam that deck. If there isn't a fun deck in the format, we just kind of play a different deck every event. Because I think there are quite fun decks, we're probably going to go ahead and just play Psychic, because I mean, it's fun. But then we'll also be testing something after that, and I don't know, maybe we'll have more news by then. We'll have to wait and see. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.